Marvel. I traveled through the Marvel universe and becomes the assistant of Dr. Zola. Chapter 21. Hearing that Leo asked himself for 2 spar formulas, Dr. Zola thought for a while and said, "Of course I can give you the formula for the spar, but I can't solve the energy problem. You need to solve this problem yourself." Leo repeatedly replied, "No problem. The original idea of freezing rays and searing rays was just an idea that Leo came up with because he was too poisoned by online games in his previous life. He just came up with 2 interesting names just for fun, and he wasn't ready to actually make the imagined drawings. But now, it happens that Dr. Zola has 2 spar with corresponding properties. Of course Leo has to try to complete his own work." Dr. Zola was not pretentious, and directly queried his own database, called up the drawings of 2 types of spar, and displayed them on the monitor on his chest. Then he explained to Leo, "The spar that emits low-temperature rays is called frost stone by me. Its crystal structure is shown in the picture on my chest, and its working principle is similar to a laser diode." With Dr. Zola's explanation, Leo began to focus on Dr. Zola's chest. The next moment, mechanical force analysis was activated. Found the analyzable blueprint, Stone of Frost, parsing. The analysis is completed, and you have obtained the Frost Stone blueprint. Dr. Zola is still talking about Barabara, but Leo has already mastered the principle and production method of this material. After introducing the Frost Stone, Dr. Zola introduced another spar that can release high-temperature rays. Sure enough, Dr. Zola calls it the Fire Stone. No wonder Dr. Zola's expression was not surprising when he saw Leo's name for the light-loaded power arm. Leo used the mechanical force analysis skill again to get the blueprint of the flame stone, and then patiently listened to Dr. Zola's explanation. Finally, Dr. Zola concluded, "I know, just to tell you this roughly, you may not be able to understand the principle of the 2 spar. But that's okay. Wait a while, I will organize the data and drawings into documents and print them out for you, and you can study them yourself. It's easy to make, it just takes a little effort." Quote, "Well, it's still your thoughtful consideration, teacher. I will definitely learn how to make 2 spar stones as soon as possible, and live up to your teaching." Leo pretended to be humble and was humbly taught. "Well, the production methods of these 2 kinds of spar, you will learn it later, and now I want to discuss other things with you. I just studied the drawings of the 2 robotic arms you designed, and found that if you remove your fancy design, the main part of the remaining robotic arms can theoretically be applied to actual combat. Do you have the simplest version of the blueprint?" Quote, "Yes, here it is." Leo pulled out the blueprint of the light-loaded power arm he originally designed from the pile of drawings on the experimental bench, and handed it to Dr. Zola. Dr. Zola looked at it carefully for a while, then nodded and said, "Well, the robotic arm designed in this drawing can already be used in actual combat. However, the biggest bottleneck is still energy. Although you have improved the miniature high-compression battery in the Winter Soldier's robotic arm into an embedded type that can be easily replaced, this robotic arm can't deliver a few punches when the power is fully turned on." Quote, Dr. Zola is worthy of being an outstanding scientist. He saw the fatal flaw of this light-powered arm at a glance. After pondering for a few seconds, Dr. Zola said while drawing, "Leo, look, if this design works." Afterwards, Dr. Zola and Leo discussed the drawings fiercely together. Scientists addicted to research are scary. Dr. Zola didn't have to eat, and Leo simply ate something at noon. The 2 discussed it for a whole day before reaching a consensus. Finally, a brand new drawing was drawn by Dr. Zola. The next moment, Leo flashed a system prompt in front of his eyes. "Congratulations on successfully developing a new type of blueprint, please name it." Because this drawing evolved from the drawing of the light-loaded power arm, before and after, Leo and Dr. Zola made numerous minor revisions and 6 major revisions to the drawing. So Leo gave the new drawing a name, Lightweight Power Arm Type 6. Named successfully, Light Power Arm Type 6, Properties, Expand, Collapse. Leo unfolded the attributes of the light-loaded power arm Type 6, and the next moment, what caught his eye was a set of 3-dimensional mechanical models. In addition to the 2 mechanical arms, this model also includes a half-body armor, which serves to fix the entire mechanical model of the machine. Behind the model is a boxy box, which is the energy module of the mechanical model. It is made of a miniature high-compression battery pack, and the total capacity of the battery is hundreds of times that of the original. The original design of Leo focused more on the aesthetics of the light-loaded power arm. After being improved by Dr. Zola, the new power arm focuses more on practicality. Leo also compared the power parameters and energy parameters of the light-loaded power arm Type 6 and the original model. He found that the maximum power of the V-type was not only increased by 20%, but the energy module could also support it to fight at full power for 20 minutes. Overall, this renovation was a complete success. Dr. Zola looked at the blueprint in his hand, looking very excited, and said, "I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. The super soldier plan I've worked so hard to study for so long has found a breakthrough in another direction. Leo, let's go find Miss Sienna right away and report this exciting good news to her. I believe that with this set of equipment, the armed forces of the Hydra organization can be greatly improved." Quote. Leo moved his sore and extremely tired body. After a little tangled, he said, "Teacher, I don't think we need to be in such a hurry. Your body is made of iron, but mine is made of meat. I feel very hungry and tired now, so I think I need to eat something now and get a good night's sleep. Why don't we report this good news to the leader when we meet tomorrow morning?" Quote. Well, let's talk about it at night. You should go to rest, your health is important. Dr. Zola was a little embarrassed after listening to Leo's words. But in the next moment, he came up with another good idea. "Actually, Leo, why don't I transfer your consciousness to the robot as well? That way you won't be troubled by physical problems, and you can concentrate more on your research." "Teacher, no need, no need. I just need a little rest. I still miss my body." After that, Leo said goodbye to Dr. Zola and ran away in a hurry. Leo ran to the cafeteria, and after a good meal, he went back to the bedroom and fell asleep, having a sweet dream by the way. The next morning, in the conference room on the top floor of the new base. It was still Dr. Zola, Leo, Kettle, and Sienna, and the meeting had just begun. Sienna was sitting in the main seat, squinting at Leo from time to time. The Winter Soldier was frozen in the underground cold storage, and no one relieved Sienna's desire. She was a little hungry. Leo felt a little numb at her scalp, and quickly reported to Sienna Wei. "Boss, Dr. Zola and I have good news for you." "Oh, what good news, let's hear it." Her voice was numb, soft to the bone. Qatar, who was sitting next to him, was already short of breath. Leo also pretended to swallow, gasping for breath, almost speechless. "Enough, Sienna, restrain your desires, let's get down to business." Dr. Zola taught Sienna a lesson, and Sienna turned her head to look at Dr. Zola with an aggrieved look, as if she was about to cry. "So," Dr. Zola's tone softened. "Okay, you can put the Winter Soldier out for use at night. But now please be more formal, and I'll tell you about my invention and Leo's." Hearing that the Winter Soldier was available at night, Sienna corrected her attitude a little. Dr. Zola saw that Sienna, Leo, and Qatar had all returned to normal one by one, and then he told the light-loaded power arm Type 6 in detail. Light power arm Type 6 is the name Leo gave the blueprint, and Dr. Zola called the blueprint half armor. "Miss Sienna, this half-body armor blueprint is a mechanical weapon designed by Leo and I. In theory, after equipping this armor, a well-trained soldier can also resist a super soldier for a while. Even if the half-armored warriors are formed, their lethality and destructive power are not weaker than that of super soldiers." Quote. After listening to Dr. Zola's explanation, Sienna seemed very interested. She took the blueprint and checked it carefully, then nodded. "Although I don't understand it very well, it sounds really good to hear you say it. You mean, we can build a quasi-super soldier with this half-armor?" Quote. "It's almost what you said. However, this half-armor has just been designed, and it will take some time to achieve mass production. In addition, if we want to operate this half-armor proficiently, our agents still need to carry out enough training. Those are not problems. As long as this half-body armor can enhance our force, you can test it with confidence. I look forward to your good news." Sienna looked very happy and praised Dr. Zola and Leo, and then she said to Kettle. "Agent Kettle, do you have any good news over there?" Qatar hurriedly stood up and said respectfully, "Boss, I also have good news here." Sienna dragged her chin with one hand, stretched her body lazily, and made a look of listening intently. Qatar secretly swallowed his saliva and continued. "I have two more important news here. 1. According to your instructions from the boss last time, we have successfully placed personnel around Agent Nick Fury and can monitor his movements at any time. 2. Our people sent back news from S.H.I.E.L.D. that on December 16, Howard Stark will quietly bring the configured serum to the secret S.H.I.E.L.D. base in New York City for human experiments. In order not to attract attention, Stark will pretend to be traveling, without any bodyguards. That's when we had our best chance of grabbing the super serum. Quote, only prepared super serum, is there no formula for super serum? Dr. Zola has studied the formula for more than 10 years and is very concerned about it, so he asked Kettle a question. Stark is reluctant to tell S.H.I.E.L.D. the formula, only willing to help them transform the warriors. The current S.H.I.E.L.D. is not the beginning of its establishment, and Stark needs to protect his own interests. We fought for the serum formula, but failed. Quote, it doesn't matter, only the serum is enough. Sienna licked her lips and continued. You're all doing well. December 16th. There's 5 days left before we're ready for action. If you succeed in getting the serum, create a batch of super soldiers. Coupled with the half-body armor designed by Dr. Zola and Agent Irwin, Hydra can reach the sky in one step. This time, it will be the best chance for our Hydra to rise. Everyone, let go and do it, long live the Hydra. Quote, Sienna raised her hands in the standard Hydra antics. Long live the Hydra. Dr. Zola, Leo, and Star all agreed. That's it for today, let's end the meeting. I'll make arrangements for the detailed tasks. Sienna couldn't wait to announce the end of the meeting, and then said, I'm going to wake up the Winter Soldier first. The plan in 5 days is not to be missed. These days, I need him to stay awake every day and arrange tasks for him properly. Quote, after finishing speaking, Sienna quickly walked out of the conference room and rushed to the underground cold storage impatiently. Time flies so fast, a few days have passed in a blink of an eye. On the evening of December 15, 1991, Boston, Hydra Base, the second underground floor, in Leo's laboratory. Since Dr. Zola has been busy with the manufacturing and mass production of half-armor recently, the maintenance of the robotic arm before Bucky the Winter Soldier can only be done by Leo alone. As usual, Leo helped Bucky the Winter Soldier repair the robotic arm, and Leo arranged for him to sit down first, and then skillfully removed his robotic arm. After connecting the robotic arm to the newly debugged instrument for testing, Leo played with a portable signal transmitter in his hand and fell into deep thought. He thought about it for a while, and decided to give up the main consciousness of awakening Bucky tonight. Because Bucky the Winter Soldier is on a mission tomorrow that is vital to the history of the Marvel Universe. If Howard Stark is not dead, there will be no Iron Man in the future. Therefore, before he has a strong self-protection ability, Leo still feels that he should not rashly change the original history of the Marvel Universe. Thinking of this, Leo pulled a stool and sat across from Bucky, who was expressionless. In fact, since he came to this new base, Leo could have found an opportunity to escape. This base is located in a big city, and Leo's access to the base is not restricted. He even went out to the mall the day before yesterday and bought a set of clothes. Therefore, if he wants to escape, it is really easy. The reason why Leo didn't leave was very simple. He was just thinking about the mission released by the system, Save American Private, Bucky Barnes. After completing the task of Black Widow's life and death, Leo received a generous system reward. He not only got a Black Widow character card that can be used to explode seeds, but also obtained a powerful advanced mind resistance feat. This feat not only saved his life, but also improved his overall strength by the way. So he wanted to kidnap Bucky by the way, complete the mission, and get another wave of mission rewards. But about Howard Stark, it gave Leo a wake-up call. If Leo saves Bucky, the storyline of the Marvel Universe will be messed up by Leo. The story in Captain America 3 is bound to change, and possibly a lot of events unknown to Leo. This butterfly effect will lead to many unknowns, and may even be serious enough to lead to the demise of the Earth and the destruction of hundreds of millions of living beings. Leo lived in a society ruled by law in his previous life, let alone destroying hundreds of millions of lives. He never even thought of hurting people. After arriving in this world inexplicably, in order to protect himself, Leo's mentality changed a lot, and he knew how to make profits for himself. And because the Hydra organization has been doing a lot of evil, Leo trapped them, and there was no pressure in his heart. But as Leo's influence on the Marvel Universe becomes greater and greater, what may happen in the future will involve the lives and deaths of countless innocent people. So, Leo is struggling. However, in the next moment, Leo suddenly figured it out. Hey, what am I struggling with? I came to this world inexplicably, and I have no sense of belonging to this world. In order to achieve my goal, I must become stronger. Then the future events of this universe will definitely be disturbed by me, so what about saving Bucky? There are so many things I want to change in the future. Although it may lead to the death of many innocent people. But what if that is the case? Quote, after passing this level in his heart, Leo suddenly felt comfortable physically and mentally, as if he had crossed a bottleneck, and the mechanical force in his body seemed to be more active. Leo stared at Bucky's expressionless face and made up his mind secretly. He must strive to complete the mission of saving American Private Bucky Barnes. And he can be even more selfish. But, probably because he stared at Bucky's forehead for too long, Leo suddenly found that his gaze seemed to penetrate Bucky's body and directly saw the inside of Bucky's brain. At this time, there is a thumb-sized chip in Bucky's brain, which is attracting Leo's attention. Leo was shocked when he discovered that he could suddenly see the chip in Bucky's brain. Then, he suddenly recovered from the dazed state. At this time, he realized that he didn't know when dense and translucent system prompts had already appeared in front of his eyes. You fall into a special mental state, and the frequency of your soul begins to fit in with this world. The special mental state has ended. Congratulations on passing through the bottleneck period. Your soul has been completely accepted by this world. Your soul and spirit have been gifted by this world. The strength of your soul is enhanced, and your spiritual power is increased. System prompt. It is detected that your mental strength reaches the minimum standard of mechanical force insight, and mechanical force insight has been unlocked. Mechanical force insight active skill consume both mechanical force and mental force. You will get a special mechanical force perspective. You can see the flow of energy and the internal structure of machinery. Note, this skill can be used in conjunction with mechanical force analysis. Leo looked at the system prompt in front of him, and his eyes slowly filled with shock. He thought that he had traveled through this world just because of an accident that no one could tell. But now, Leo sees this strange system prompt, especially the words, soul frequency, this world, crossing the bottleneck period. Leo always felt that there was a conspiracy in all of this. He thought about his past life and present life carefully, but in the end he didn't find anything unusual. As long as I get stronger and stronger, one day I can figure it out. Leo secretly made up his mind. Since he didn't understand, he didn't think much about it. Now, getting stronger is the last word. Leo stared at Bucky's head and tried to activate the mechanical force insight skill. The next moment, Bucky in front of him became translucent, and a thumb-sized chip appeared in his eyes again. In the special mechanical force field of vision, the chip was flashing fluorescence, attracting Leo's attention. As soon as his thoughts changed, Leo remembered that the remarks of mechanical force insight said, this skill can be used with mechanical force analysis. In the next instant, Leo activated his skills at the chip that was glowing with fluorescence in his eyes. Mechanical force analysis. Discovered the analyzable target, mind control chip, whether to start parsing. Start. The mechanical force in Leo's body began to decrease, and the speed was extremely fast, and it would be consumed in a short while. Fortunately, at the same time as the mechanical force was drained, the analysis completion also jumped to 100%. Analyzing. The analysis is successful. You get the blueprint, mind control chip. A piece of knowledge suddenly appeared in Leo's brain, which was the production method of the mind control chip, as well as the production and use method of the supporting chip control terminal. Now, Leo has a full understanding of how the control chip in Bucky's brain works. This also means that if Leo wants to block the chip in Bucky's brain, it will be easy. After taking this discovery seriously in his heart, Leo combed his thoughts from beginning to end, and finally he felt that he did not need to interfere in anything about tomorrow's actions. The top priority now is to find a suitable time to leave the base with Bucky safely. After Leo was able to solve the chip problem in Bucky's brain perfectly, it suddenly became easier to leave the base. However, Leo was still thinking about Dr. Zola's robot body. In addition, his light-loaded power arm Type 6 has not yet been manufactured. So, it will take a while. However, the day of leaving the Hydra base is getting closer and closer. Leo estimates that it will only happen in the past few days. After making a plan, Leo checked the Winter Soldier's robotic arm again. I helped Bucky the Winter Soldier reinstall the robotic arm. In the end, Leo kicked the Winter Soldier out of the lab and went back to the lab to get back to his own business. On the evening of December 16, 1991, it was sunny. Howard Stark was driving a Ford sedan, galloping down a deserted road overnight. In the passenger seat was his wife, Maria Stark. Howard was driving attentively, and Maria was vigilantly paying attention to the situation around the vehicle. Nominally, the two were going to drive to the beach for a vacation. In fact, both of them knew exactly what their real purpose was. Howard, I don't think we should do anything for S.H.I.E.L.D. in the future. Now that the members of S.H.I.E.L.D. are getting more and more complicated, it's time for you to get out. Too many people are staring at S.H.I.E.L.D. Especially since you started the rejuvenating serum formula, I've always had a flustered feeling. Quote. Maria looked at her husband, thought of her child again, and said softly, Howard, we now have our own children and our own business, and your energy is limited. After helping S.H.I.E.L.D. this time, let's not worry about it, okay? Maria, don't worry, it's okay, I'm busy. I'm one of the founders of S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. is still developing, and I think I need to make some more contributions. I think you've done enough. Over the years, you've traveled a lot for S.H.I.E.L.D., sometimes staying out for a long time. Remember the year you led a team to the Arctic Ocean to search for Captain America Steve? That time, you went for 3 full years. I haven't even been able to contact you for months in a row. I am really worried about you. Later, with Tony, you've been working. I know you love Tony deeply, but you don't have time to spend with him, and the relationship between the two of you has not been very good. It's not that I don't support your ideas and career, I just hope you can spend more energy on our family. Quote. After listening to his wife's words, Howard was silent for a while, then smiled gently at his wife and said, Okay, Maria, listen to you. I'll spend more time with the family. Honey, I promise. Maria returned a sweet smile to her husband, feeling filled with happiness. Meanwhile, in New York City, inside the S.H.I.E.L.D. secret research base. Sir, all experimental instruments have been debugged. Several agents who have been screened out and voluntarily accepted the serum modification have also been fully prepared. Now, waiting for Mr. Howard Stark to restore the super serum. Quote. The base's research director, Dr. Senate, was reporting the preparations for the experiment to a black man with his hands on his back. Dr. Senate is a research madman, and at this time he was excited and said, Today is really an exciting day. Mr. Stark actually restored the formula of the super serum, and the legendary character like Captain America may be able to see the light of day again today. I am honored to work with Mr. Stark to witness this great history. Quote. The Negro turned around, revealing his grim face. This black man turned out to be the future director of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury. It seems that S.H.I.E.L.D. attaches great importance to the super serum restored by Howard, and even sent Agent Frey to personally supervise the experiment. Hearing Senate talking about Howard, Fury, who has always been known for being serious, also showed a faint smile on his face. Fred wrote, Mr. Stark is a man of trust and respect who never disappoints. Today is a big day and I am honored to witness history with you. The two chatted casually for a few more words, and Dr. Senate turned back to the laboratory. As the director of the scientific research department, big and small things need his attention. Especially at this critical moment, he must not take it lightly. Agent Fury took out his pocket watch and checked the time. 9:32 p.m. Fury estimated that Howard had just left the New York City area at this time and was driving to the base. Counting the time, it will take about 2 hours, I hope he can go smoothly. Afterwards, Agent Fury put his hands up again and quietly waited for the arrival of Stark. In the fields outside New York City, Howard drove his car down the highway. In the car, Howard and his wife Maria chatted with each other, looking forward to a happy future. Suddenly, Maria saw from the right rear view mirror that a motorcycle was rapidly approaching from the right rear of the car. The motorcycle was full of energy and quickly chased after her and Howard. Maria reminded Howard worriedly. Howard, be careful, there's a motorcycle in the back, it doesn't look good. Without his wife's reminder, Howard had already noticed the motorcycle following closely behind the car. The intense light from the motorcycle's high beams, reflected in the car's rear view mirror, has flashed to Howard's eyes many times. Howard's mission was carried out in secret, and only people inside S.H.I.E.L.D. knew it, and it should not arouse anyone's prying eyes. However, the motorcycle behind him did look menacing, and Howard couldn't help but start thinking about it. The motorcycle was getting closer and closer to the car, and the more Howard thought about it, the more uncomfortable it became. "Maria, sit tight, I'm going to start trying to get rid of this motorcycle." Howard stepped on the gas pedal and the car began to accelerate. A car and a motorcycle started chasing on the road one after the other. The speed of the car was too fast, and Maria was so frightened that she clutched the armrest in the car tightly, comforting herself in her heart. When the two cars passed an unremarkable small town, the road suddenly began to narrow, and Howard dared not accelerate any more. The motorcycle, without any scruples, suddenly accelerated again and caught up. Bucky, the Winter Soldier, was on his motorcycle, turning the gas pedal to catch up with Howard's car. With a scream from Maria, Bucky raised the robotic arm in his left hand and slammed the door of the car with a punch. During high-speed driving, the car was subjected to a huge external force and suddenly lost control. Although Howard tried his best to control the direction, but unfortunately the road was too narrow, he still did not have time to stabilize the car. With a loud bang, the car slammed into a wall in front, and the front of the car was smashed into pieces. And Bucky withdrew his left hand, used his huge force to stubbornly stabilize the motorcycle head, and slowly stopped in front. Howard, who was driving the car, although wearing a seat belt, was also hit and bloodied. Fortunately, because of other protective measures in the car, Howard was not directly knocked out, and he remained awake. At this moment, the motorcycle folded its head and drove back from his right front. After passing through his eyes, it turned another corner and stopped beside the car. Howard's heart tightened, and he was suddenly filled with regret and despair. He first looked at the wife next to him, and found that his wife was still alive, a little relieved. Howard resisted the pain and said weakly to his wife, "Maria, the man is back. But don't worry, they're targeting me specifically, you'll be fine. Don't worry, everything will be fine." After speaking, Howard struggled to open the door and climbed out of the car. At this time, Bucky the Winter Soldier got off the motorcycle and approached Howard with a blank face. "Save my wife, please, save her. She doesn't know anything." But the Winter Soldier didn't respond at all to Howard's words. He reached out and grabbed Howard's hair, who was lying on the ground, causing Howard to raise his head. Howard suppressed the panic in his heart. At first glance, he saw the coming person's left arm raised high and reflecting the metallic luster. The next moment, he could see the coming person's face clearly, and then said in surprise, "Sergeant Barnes." Then, Howard seemed to want to understand something, and his eyes began to be full of prayers, praying that Barnes would let his wife go. At this time, Maria seemed to feel something. In the car, he anxiously called out to his husband. However, Bucky the Winter Soldier was unmoved. He raised his robotic arm and punched Howard hard in the face, and then another punch. With Maria's cry with a cry, Howard collapsed softly to the ground and died. Bucky lifted Howard's body by the back collar of his shirt and put Howard back in the driver's seat with his head on the steering wheel. When Maria saw the body of her husband who was close at hand, her heartache, sadness, fear, anger and other emotions all poured out in an instant. Her mind went blank and she couldn't even breathe. But Bucky the Winter Soldier remained expressionless. He went around to the passenger seat, stretched out his right hand and grabbed Maria's neck, strangling her alive. Then, Bucky the Winter Soldier walks up to the camera, which has been probed long ago, and destroys the camera with one shot. Before firing, he made a provocative gesture. Bucky retracted the gun to his waist and went back to the car to start a careful search. Finally, from the back seat of the car, Bucky took out a sealed box, got on the motorcycle, galloped down the road, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. On the evening of the 16th, at 11:45, Fury paced the secret base office, feeling a little irritable and worried. At this time, the base security director also walked into the office quickly and said to Fury, "Sir, we have contacted Mr. Stark's in-car communication many times, but there has been no response. I'm afraid, will they? Don't guess, that's pointless. Send half the agents on the base and drive along all possible routes to find Mr. Stark in the direction of downtown New York." Fury interrupted the security chief and ordered to go out to search. After listening, the security supervisor quickly walked out of the office and quickly arranged for the relevant personnel. Fury was in the office, waiting, fidgeting. An hour later, the base security director hurriedly ran into the office, shouting as he ran. "Sir Fury, it's not good, something happened. The Starks got into a car accident on the way, and they both died." The next moment, Fury's face was full of shock. He picked up the jacket beside him and ran out of the office quickly. Afterwards, he and the security supervisor drove a car and hurried to the scene of the incident. In the place where Stark's car accident occurred, Fury, who arrived late, watched the Starks and his wife be put into the body bag, with a sad look on his face. Since Fury was transferred to S.H.I.E.L.D., Howard Stark has been taking care of Fredo. In addition, Howard is one of the founders of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Fury loves him very much. Taking a deep breath, Fury calmed down and looked around, while facing the main security channel standing behind him. Did the agents who came early find out the reason? Why did the Starks have a car accident? The team of forensic doctors and investigative agents have compiled the situation, and there are a few key points that need attention. On the right side of Mr. Stark's car, there are signs of being hit by a heavy object. The cause of Mr. Stark's death was a blunt blow to the head, and Mr. Stark showed signs of getting out of the car before he died. Mrs. Stark, who was blue-purple above her neck, proved to be strangled by someone and died of suffocation. In addition, there were traces of motorcycles staying at the scene, and the footprints of a third party were also checked, and it was determined to be a male with a weight of more than 100 kilograms. Also, the agents found no samples of the super serum in the car. Quote, "The security supervisor told Fury the details of the scene one by one, and finally concluded. From the above points, it can be concluded that the Starks were killed. Moreover, the suspect did not intend to make any disguise at all, he just came to take the serum." Fury thought for a while, then asked, "Since the suspect is not prepared to disguise, is there anything left at the scene that can identify him?" Strange to say, according to criminal psychology, such unscrupulous people generally leave items at the scene to identify themselves. However, our agents did not find such items. That only proves that you are stupid and need training. Fury taught the security director a lesson coldly, and the security director lowered his head and did not dare to retort. Fury continued, "Don't think I wronged you, what do you think that is?" The head of security looked in the direction of Fury's finger, found a broken camera, and lowered his head in shame. The agents he led have stayed in the S.H.I.E.L.D. research base for too long, and their daily work is like a security guard, and they have basically never performed any tasks. Many skills that have been trained and learned before are becoming increasingly rusty. Fury did not reprimand the security director anymore, and said lightly, "You take a few people and follow me to find the owner of the surveillance camera." Half an hour later, Fury had obtained a backup of the surveillance video and watched it by himself, deleting the original data by the way. Although the head of security repeatedly expressed the idea of taking a look at the video, Fury refused. In the end, Fury drove a car by himself and immediately returned to the secret S.H.I.E.L.D. base. Then he took a helicopter and returned directly to the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. At this time, the sky was not yet bright, but Fury did not rest, but directly used his authority to enter a secret office and apply for an emergency meeting of the S.H.I.E.L.D. high level. Half an hour later, more than 20 people have connected the voice communication channel to the office through the security line. Agent Fury didn't wait any longer and announced the meeting. Agent Fury's first sentence made many participants who had just got up from the bed instantly become smart. "Everyone, I have bad news for you. Howard Stark, one of the founders of S.H.I.E.L.D., was killed by the Hydra last night." All the high-level executives were shocked and began to ask what happened. Fury ignored them and went on to throw out a second message. In addition, Mr. Stark's restored serum was taken away. At this time, there was finally a person who was smart enough to infer what happened from two sentences. "Agent Fury, do you mean that Stark was killed by the Hydra organization last night on his way to transport serum to the secret base in New York?" Fury responded with silence. "How is that possible? How can the Hydra people know that Stark has successfully recovered the serum? And also know when and where we will conduct human experiments?" Another person asked the doubts in the hearts of all the participants. There is only one answer. In S.H.I.E.L.D., there are Hydra traitors, and they are also in high positions. Fury told the truth coldly. After listening to Fury's words, the high-level executives kept silent one after another, and each fell into thinking. They are not stupid, they all understand that what Fury said is the only possibility. For a time, a figure flashed in their hearts, and they became suspicious of each other. It was Fury, who broke the embarrassment of the silence. Fury continued. Let's not talk about the traitor. It can't be solved in a while. The purpose of calling you for a meeting today is to discuss with you how we should announce the news of Stark's death. I suggest hiding the truth. In the public's impression, the Hydra organization has long since been destroyed with the end of World War II, and the truth must not be released to the public. I agree, but Stark has his own big company and is a very famous public figure. We must find reasonable reasons and not cause public panic. Otherwise, we can't explain it to Congress. I also agree, but I have another concern. Since Hydra can send someone to kill Stark, it can also send someone to kill anyone who is currently participating in the meeting. After all, we usually don't have special guards. I suggest that before finding the traitor and completely eliminating the Hydra organization, the Bureau should send special personnel to protect the personal safety of our individuals and families. Quote. Seconded. This time, except for Fury, everyone in the meeting agreed, and everyone became self-threatening. Don't worry, everyone. S.H.I.E.L.D. will definitely send more people to protect the personal safety of you and your family. In addition, the Hydra organization has figured out the cause of Mr. Stark's death for us, that is, a car accident. I will arrange everything in the follow-up, you can go back and continue to rest. Quote. After that, Fury reached out and cut off all the safety lines. Disappointment in his eyes. S.H.I.E.L.D. has developed for so many years, and its members are mixed with dragons and snakes, and many selfish people have sneaked into the high level based on their qualifications. Fury felt that it was time to find a way to rectify the atmosphere in the Bureau. As soon as it was dawn, S.H.I.E.L.D., through its internal public relations department, secretly spread the news of Howard Stark's death in an accidental car accident. Media from all over the world are scrambling to report. Friday, December 17 at 8 a.m. New York Times. It has been confirmed by many parties that last night, Mr. Howard Stark, the famous scientist, inventor and founder of Stark Industries, died in an accidental car accident, and his wife was also killed. Mr. Stark is considered by many to be an American hero. He participated in the atomic bomb program, and Washington Daily. Howard Stark dies, Stark Group loses the helm, who will be the next leader of Stark Industries? Folk tabloid. Howard Stark died accidentally. In the end, is it jealous of talents, or is it that God has eyes? Stark Industries specializes in arms and weapons, and is known by many as the head of arms. Some people have long questioned that the guns produced by Stark Industries are the root cause of the prevalence of American gangsters and the sponsors of world terrorist organizations, causing the deaths of countless innocent people. Mr. Stark's death, some people regret it, some people applaud. What do you think? Inside a luxury seaside villa in California, USA. A man and two women were sleeping on a 5-meter-wide bed. Last night, the three of them fought fiercely in the middle of the night, and now it's 8:30 in the morning and they still haven't gotten up. Jingle bell. A harsh phone rang in the house, and one of the women was the first to wake up, sat up and rubbed her eyes. As her body swayed, the sheets slipped down, and her perfect upper body was exposed like this, without any obstruction. The next moment, she got up, sat on a young man who looked to be in his 20s, and swayed coquettishly. Tony, your phone is ringing, get up and answer it, it's so noisy. Tony Stark just woke up, patted the butt of the beautiful woman on him, pushed her aside, rolled over and sat up. He glanced back at the two beauties who were sleeping on the bed and the other with hazy eyes. He smiled and said, if you take pictures of the two of you now, you will definitely be the cover girl for next month. Hate. The wake-up cover girl gave Tony Stark a shy punch, then covered her head with a sheet. Tony put a coat on his body, walked over to the phone, sat on the leather sofa and picked up the microphone, saying, hey, this is Tony Stark. Who are you? Tony, it's me, Obadiah Stan. I'm sorry, Tony, I need to tell you something, is it convenient for you now? Oh, Obi, what's the matter? You just say, I'm free now. There was a slight pause in the phone, and then a slightly low voice sounded. Tony, I'm sorry to tell you that your parents were in a car accident last night. When they were found, the people were gone. Snapped. Tony's hand trembled, and the phone receiver fell to the ground. The next moment, Tony quickly picked up the microphone and shouted. Obi, tell me, are you kidding me? It's not April Fool's Day. Also, how can you make such an outrageous joke? although I really want to take it as a joke. However, the facts are facts and cannot be changed. You can read the news in the morning for the specific situation." Obadiah heard a moment of silence in the microphone, then paused again. After a long time, he continued. "Tony, Stark Industries needs you, please come back quickly." On the morning of the 17th, Boston. Taking advantage of the night, Bucky the Winter Soldier returned to the new Hydra base with the plundered serum early, with the assistance of Hydra agents. At this time, Leo's group was gathering in the laboratory on the second basement floor, patiently waiting for the results of Dr. Zola's analysis of the serum samples. In the looted box, after Dr. Zola's confirmation, the large and small test tubes were combined, and there was only one serum sample. Also, the Winter Soldier didn't find the formula for the super serum in the car. When Dr. Zola knew that there was only one serum, she strongly suggested that Sienna hand over the serum to him for research, hoping to successfully restore the formula with the help of the complete serum. But Sienna felt that it was better to have one bird in hand than 10 birds in the forest, and directly ordered Dr. Zola to take out a little serum first, do a simple authenticity test, and then plan to use this serum to strengthen the warrior. Therefore, Dr. Zola was very careful when analyzing the samples. Dr. Zola took a test tube out of the box, carefully poured out a drop of the serum sample, and split it in two again. Half of it was placed under a special instrument, first through physical detection, and then through chemical reaction to test the structure and chemical composition of the serum. The other half of the drop was directly injected into the body of the experimental mice by Dr. Zola with a small syringe. After being busy for a long time, Dr. Zola walked out of the experimental room with a large stack of test reports and said to the few people who were waiting in the hall, "Good news, good news. The composition of the serum sample is basically consistent with the data left by Dr. Erskine. Furthermore, the experimental mice were in a good physiological state within 3 hours after being injected with a small amount of serum. I tested the wound healing speed and virus resistance of mice, and they have been effectively enhanced. The main components of the serum are as follows. The anatomical study data of each organ of the mouse is as follows." Dr. Zola began to introduce the results and parameters of the experiment to everyone, but except for Leo, who could understand everything, everyone else was at a loss. Finally, Sienna couldn't help but interrupted Dr. Zora, who was eloquent, and said, "Drive Zola, please speak human words." "Oh, good. It turns out, in my opinion, that the super serum has been restored successfully. Howard Stark lives up to his name of genius. Dead geniuses are not called geniuses, they can only be called fools." With a contemptuous sneer on Sienna's face, she continued, "There is only one greatest genius, and that is you, Dr. Zola. Doctor, what do you think we should do next? Directly start human experiments? Of course human experiments should be carried out immediately. But what's the matter? Is there a problem? However, when the super serum is used on people, there will always be various accidents. We are now in the downtown area, and if there is an accident, we will expose ourselves. I am afraid it is not suitable to conduct experiments here. And the booster Erskine uses with the super serum uses more power than my original hibernation device. Therefore, we need to change the place, and we also need to re-prepare the reinforcement equipment. These all take time." Quote, "This is not a problem. Bring everything, we will transfer to the 033 base tonight, where all your requirements of Dr. Zola will be met. At the same time, Doctor, what instruments and materials do you need? Tell Kettle and let him prepare." Sienna felt urgent to create a new super soldier. Therefore, she agreed to all of Dr. Zola's requirements, and only hoped that the super soldiers would be cultivated soon. "Boss, I voluntarily accept the transformation of the super serum, please give me this rare opportunity." At this moment, Kettle suddenly jumped out. "Actively want to be the subject of Zero transformation." Sienna looked up and down at Qatar's figure, then looked at his face, licked her blood-red lips and said, "Yes, you hand over the follow-up matters of this base, and transfer with us at night." After finishing speaking, Sienna didn't know what good things came to her mind, and left the laboratory with a smile on her face with Bucky the Winter Soldier. Qatar also followed behind Sienna with a look of excitement, and at the same time, sneakily began to look at Sienna's bumpy figure. Leo saw that everyone else had gone far, and stopped Dr. Zola, who was going to work again, and asked, "Teacher, when I just heard you introduce the experimental parameters of the mice, you mentioned the rapid proliferation of muscles in the mice. Is this normal? After a moment of silence, Dr. Zola said in a low voice. Actually, I don't know if this is normal. After all, Erskine deleted most of his experimental data before he escaped. However, the serum recovered by Stark can indeed enhance the cell activity in the organism, and the results of a series of tests are also consistent with the remaining experimental data. However, I can't guarantee whether the super soldier can be successfully created. It depends on the final result. Quote. Leo thought about it for a while, and asked tentatively. So, teacher, can I see the super serum for myself? Of course, I still need you as my helper when I conduct the experiment. Of course it's fine if you take a look now. After speaking, Dr. Zola took Leo into the experimental room, took out the sealed serum test tube, and handed it to Leo. Leo took the test tube in his hand and put it in front of him to watch it carefully. The super serum looks like a dark red liquid with purple threads in the middle. This magical serum has the potential to create a super soldier. Leo said that it is impossible not to be jealous. When completing the mission of Black Widow, Leo missed the serum transformation body, which is a pity. Maybe, this is another chance to become stronger. Mechanical force analysis. The next moment, Leo tried to analyze the super serum in his hand. Analysis. After the analysis is over, congratulations on obtaining the drawing, thickened plexiglass test tube, and the knowledge, plexiglass material. Leo. After discovering that the mechanical force analysis of the opponent's serum was ineffective, Leo tried the mechanical force insight skill again, but he could only observe that the serum contained much more energy than conventional liquids and was doing irregular movements. Other than that, he got nothing. Leo pouted, put the serum back in the cryogenic box for preservation, turned his head and spread his hands to Dr. Zola, saying that he didn't see anything. Dr. Zola took Leo out of the experimental room, and then said to Leo, "We're going to evacuate at night. You can also go back and pack up the things you need to bring. You don't need to bring so much. This time we will go to a base that is no less than the size of the Kapok Tang Manor. It has everything in it." After listening to Leo, his heart moved, and he said with a slightly complaining tone, "Are we going to start living underground again? We're not going to leave America this time, right? This time it's not underground, it's a cave. In addition, we will not leave the United States for the time being. The new Hydra was born out of S.H.I.E.L.D., and we have to rely on S.H.I.E.L.D. to obtain a lot of resources and secrets. Teacher, how many secret bases does the organization have? Who are our Hydra people in S.H.I.E.L.D.? There are many secret bases in the organization, all over the world. In S.H.I.E.L.D., who are our people? These are all secrets. At present, only me and Miss Sienna know, and I can't reveal this information to you yet. However, as long as you perform well, one day, you will know that I am very optimistic about you." Quote. Leo found that he couldn't ask any secrets, so he said goodbye to Dr. Zola and prepared to go back to his laboratory to pack up. When Leo walked to the door, Dr. Zola suddenly said again, "Leo, in the evening, remember to help me debug the sleep device. Because I don't have time to sleep at night, I have to sleep 2 hours earlier." Leo agreed, and then left Dr. Zola's laboratory. In the afternoon, in Dr. Zola's laboratory. Most of the items in the lab are still intact, and Dr. Zola isn't going to take much with him. Including the dormant equipment under him that has been transformed, he is not going to take it away. There are 2 reasons for this, as Dr. Zola explained. One reason is that after Leo's transformation, the current dormancy device is very convenient to manufacture, and it takes 2 or 3 days to complete it with overtime. Another reason is that this base, Dr. Zola might come back in the future, and it is good to keep these instruments and equipment as a spare tire. Teacher, are you ready? Dr. Zola, who was already lying on the dormant bed, made the old man on the monitor on his chest make a nod. Leo skillfully pulled down the handle, sending Dr. Zola into the dream. Looking at Dr. Zola who had lost consciousness, Leo smashed his mouth. As usual, he launched an offensive against Dr. Zola's body. After several days of accumulation, Leo's analysis of Dr. Zola's body has reached 97%. Before fully grasping Dr. Zola's robot body, there is only one mechanical force analysis left. The next moment, Leo turned on mechanical force insight, and Dr. Zola's robot body began to glow. At the same time, Leo used mechanical force analysis on the luminous body in front of him. As the mechanical force was slowly consumed, the progress bar began to grow little by little, and finally reached 100% successfully. As expected by Leo, the system prompts densely filled his field of vision in the next instant. System prompt. After the analysis is completed, you will get the drawings, autonomous consciousness multifunctional robot, consciousness memory chip, and you will obtain the knowledge, robot manufacturing, consciousness coding language. As expected of Dr. Zola, who can sing and dance. After Leo successfully parsed his robot body, he obtained a lot of messy drawings and knowledge. There are a lot of new drawings and knowledge, and all of them are used in Leo's mind in an instant, making him feel a little dizzy for a moment. But fortunately, the next moment, the system did not know what protection mechanism was triggered, and all the knowledge was sorted into categories by the system, which could be consulted by Leo at will. After Leo sorted out the sudden knowledge in his head, he found that he now has a complete insight into the secret of Dr. Zola's body. It means that if there is enough time and materials, he can completely reproduce the exact same Dr. Zola. After careful consideration, a series of plans suddenly appeared in Leo's mind. If these plans can be successfully implemented, Leo feels that he can benefit greatly from them. Thinking of this, Leo left Dr. Zola's laboratory, went back to his room to pack up, and prepared for the transfer at night. Hydra Secret Base, number 033. Leo has been transferred to this new base with Sienna and the others for 10 days. In the past few days, the light-loaded power arm Type 6 has been produced by Leo. Leo has tested its performance, and everything is about the parameters described by the system. Prove that what he made is not a defective product. In addition to this, Leo took the time to recreate a portable signal jammer. As long as Bucky keeps the jammer with him, he can get rid of the control of the chip in his brain and dominate his body by himself. Most of the rest of the time, Leo worked with Dr. Zola. In the first 3 days, Leo helped Dr. Zola recreate a new dormant device. Over the next few days, Leo, along with Dr. Zola, has been continuously improving and manufacturing the enhanced equipment for use with the super serum. Dr. Zola gave the booster a name. It's called a Super War Breeding Warehouse. After 7 days of hard work, coupled with Leo's use of the mechanical force deduction ingenuity skill from time to time, to help Dr. Zola improve the equipment blueprint, the Super War Cultivation Warehouse was finally completed ahead of schedule. Leo, you are really a genius. Your thinking is so jumping, you can always come up with some fantastic ideas, like a stroke of genius. Dr. Zola seemed very happy to be able to complete the Super War Cultivation Warehouse in advance, and he continued. This time you have done a lot of credit, and I will tell Miss Sienna your credit truthfully. Leo said casually and modestly as always. Teacher, your credit is even greater. I have these achievements thanks to your guidance. Dr. Zola seemed happier, saying, it's getting late today, it's been really hard for you these days. You are a living person and can't compete with my robot body. Go back to rest early, tomorrow morning, we will conduct human experiments. You remember to get a good night's sleep and keep your energy up. Quote. Okay, teacher, then I'll go back to rest. By the way, I'll check your hibernation device first. After you're done with the work at hand, remember to get a good night's sleep. The old face on Dr. Zola's display turned into a flower with a smile, and he waved goodbye to Leo. Leo walked out of the room where Dr. Zola became a super soldier laboratory, and went straight to Dr. Zola's dormant device. This dormant device, which has been improved by Leo D, has become fully automatic. As long as Dr. Zola simply lay down on the bed, various probes and interfaces can be automatically connected to Dr. Zola's body, saving him a lot of trouble. For this reason, Dr. Zola also greatly praised Leo, and he almost regarded Leo as his own son. But what Dr. Zola didn't know was that Leo had more hands and feet on the dormant device. Since the completion of the analysis of Dr. Zola's robot body, Leo has known the working principle of Dr. Zola's robot body. Dr. Zola's robot body is just a shell, and a lot of his memories are stored in an in-body database. At the same time, in one or more corners of the internet, there is a larger database, which contains all the secrets that Dr. Zola knows. Dr. Zola will exchange data between the local and remote repositories through the hibernation device every night. And Leo moved his hands and feet in the new hibernation device. He bypassed the security system of the robot's body, copied all the data quietly, and saved it on a hard disk. And after a week, the hard drive is almost full. At the same time, Dr. Zola's knowledge base has been copied by Leo 78ly. Since then, there has been nothing Leo coveted in the Hydra base. Leo walked to the hibernation device, pulled out a huge hard drive from the side of the device, kicked it into his arms, and quietly returned to his bedroom. In his spacious bedroom, Leo carefully checked all his equipment, and then sighed inwardly. I've been in this world for more than half a year, and I've been staying in the Hydra base. The world is so big, it's time to go out and take a look. Early the next morning, in Base 033, a lot of people had gathered in the Super Soldier Laboratory. Among them, most of them are scientific researchers and logistics personnel, who were busy doing various preparations before the experiment, and once again checked to confirm whether all the experimental instruments are normal. At this time, 4 people, headed by Sienna, were standing in front of the super battle breeding barn. In addition to Dr. Zola and Kettle, there is a black strong man. He is the director of this base. His name is Shadon. Sienna didn't know what to think, and suddenly ordered Shadane. Shadon, the security of the base is left to you. Today is a special day, and no one is allowed to enter or leave the base. Boss, leave this task to me, don't worry. After Shadon took the order, he left the laboratory and began to arrange manpower to strengthen patrols outside the base and prepare to block the base. After Shadon left, Sienna looked around, as if she was looking for someone, but she didn't find it. She asked Dr. Zola. Drive Zola, why haven't you seen your student, Mr. Irwin? Miss Sienna, it's like this. Leo and I have been busy building various equipment day and night these past few days, and have put in a lot of effort, especially hard work. I am a body of iron, but he is a normal body. He said that because he built the Super War cultivation warehouse ahead of schedule last night, he was so excited that he couldn't sleep, and he was so tired these days that he caught a cold. He was afraid that the cold virus would affect today's experiment, so he chose to rest in the bedroom and did not come to participate. Quote, Dr. Zola explained to Sienna the reason why Leo did not come, and at the same time did not forget to praise Leo for his credit. Mr. Irwin has worked hard these days. When the experiment is over, I'll go and condolences to him. After Sienna nodded, she continued. In that case, let's not wait for him. How is the preparation of the super soldier experiment? Can we start? Dr. Zola. 2 inspections have been completed, ready to start. Then let's start. Kettle, I have high hopes for you, and I will see you later. Qatar nodded excitedly to Sienna and shouted, Long live the Hydra. Afterwards, he took off his coat, went shirtless, and lay down in the super battle breeding barn. The researchers next to him quickly fixed him tightly with equipment such as belts and steel hoops. Then, a researcher dressed as a nurse came and gave Kettle a shot of penicillin. Afterwards, Dr. Zola personally put the serum test tubes into the injection tank, and then directed a group of researchers to fix the injection machine on Qatar's body. Then, under the force of the machine, the cover of the strengthening device was slowly closed. After the lid was closed, Dr. Zola raised the multifunctional mechanical arm and knocked on the metal lid of the biochemical device, and asked, Sitar, how are you feeling now? Can you see anything? Qatar's excited voice came from the coffin-shaped reinforcement device. Drive Zola, I feel better than ever. I see Miss Sienna, I see Mr. Schmidt, I see a light. After listening to Kettle's words, Dr. Zola was a little puzzled. He knocked on the metal cover again and confirmed with Qatar. Shouldn't you see a black cloud? Is there something wrong with the instrument? Qatar's tone suffocated, and after a long time he said, I did see a cloud of darkness, and there was nothing wrong with the instrument. Dr. Zola, you should improve your emotional module, you really don't understand humor. That's good, you are ready. The next process may be a little painful, you have to persevere. The longer you persevere, the more obvious the effect of the serum will be. After Dr. Zola returned to Kettle's previous sentence. Turn back to the console. Attention from all departments, the experiment starts now. Dr. Zola gave an order and pressed the start button on the console. At the same time, the logistics team of the base kept an eye on the power supply module, and the relevant scientific researchers paid close attention to various parameters and adjusted them from time to time. Everyone's attention was drawn to the ongoing super soldier experiment, so no one noticed that someone had swaggered all the way to the cold storage at the bottom of the base and opened the door with the ID card he carried with him. With the sound of D, the door of the cold storage opened. Leo was shocked by the sudden chill, and couldn't help shivering. He walked along the corridor to the end of the cold storage, and found the special equipment of the Frozen Winter Soldier low-temperature dormancy warehouse. The warehouse door needs to swipe the corresponding identification card to open, but Leo came down a few days in advance and used the mechanical force analysis skills to figure out the structure of the low-temperature dormancy warehouse. So, forging an identification card is a breeze. He took out the identification card and swiped it, and after operating a few buttons, the temperature in the low-temperature dormancy chamber gradually increased with the sound of puff. 5 minutes later, Bucky the Winter Soldier snapped his eyes open. At the same time, the warehouse door of the low-temperature dormancy warehouse opened automatically, and Bucky the Winter Soldier stepped out. Leo took out the prepared portable signal jammer from his pocket, turned on the switch, and waited quietly for a few seconds. Under the influence of the jamming signal, Bucky the Winter Soldier quickly came to his senses. The next moment, he looked at Leo next to him, with a happy expression on his face, and said, "Mr. Irwin, are we leaving?" Leo nodded, and threw the portable signal jammer in his pocket to Bucky the Winter Soldier. "This is a portable instrument that interferes with the chip in your head, and if you take this thing with you, the chip in your brain can't control you. You take your stuff close to you, follow me, and I'll take you away from the base." Quote. Leo briefly explained a few words to Bucky, then turned and walked out. Bucky quickly followed, and asked as he walked, "Can we just leave? Where's that Sienna? We won't be found out." After arriving at the 033 base, Bucky was put back into the cold storage by Dr. Zola to hibernate. Now he has no idea what happened outside. Leo explained to Bucky as he walked, "Remember the super serum you got from Howard Stark? Today is their super soldier experiment day, and no one will care about the two of us." After being reminded by Leo, Bucky found the memory of the night of robbing the serum from the chaotic memory. The next moment, he shouted in a low voice in disbelief, "I killed Mr. Howard Stark. I actually killed Mr. Howard Stark." Bucky seemed very impatient. The next moment, he suddenly thought of something, and subconsciously shouted again, "Mr. Irwin, you can stop me, why don't you stop me?" After listening to Leo, he stopped the script, his face changed, and he stared at Bucky coldly. "Sergeant Bucky Barnes, Howard Stark was killed by you, directed by Hydra, and has nothing to do with me. I'm just an ordinary person, incapable, and I don't need to be involved in this kind of thing. Things go. If you don't want to admit the mistakes you made, and don't dare to blame all the blame on Hydra, but want me to bear the blame for you, I can put you back into the dormant bin now. You have to know that without your help, I can leave smoothly now, and I don't need you at all. I woke you up just to help you, not to let you blame me." Quote. Bucky's expression changed when he heard that Leo was going to put himself back into the dormant bin again, clenching his fists, his face full of grimness. The underground cold storage was suddenly filled with a tense atmosphere. Bucky clenched the fist of the robotic arm, and Leo stood motionless in front of him, looking at him coldly. After a long time, Bucky loosened his fist, sighed, lowered his head slumped, and said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Alvin. Forgive me, I didn't mean to. I just suddenly couldn't accept the fact that I killed Mr. Stark with my own hands, so I got a little excited." Quote. You actually have another option. Leo didn't forgive Bucky because he apologized, and continued coldly. "Right now, on the 3rd floor of the base, where Sienna is. You can go up to her and fight for Stark's revenge." After listening to Leo's suggestion, Bucky shook his body and seemed a little impulsive. But in the end, he still stopped where he was, and said in a low voice, a little dejected, "Her mind control is so powerful that I can't beat her." Leo saw that Bucky had regained his sanity, so his expression softened and he said, "In that case, you'd better leave the base with me first. I have other ways to deal with Hydra. As long as you follow me, one day you will be able to kill Sienna and avenge yourself and Stark." Leo turned and walked outside the base, Bucky following him silently. The two walked all the way to the garage not far from the gate of the base. Leo had already prepared an off-road vehicle with the gear he needed. He let Bucky the Winter Soldier sit in the back seat of the car and drove slowly out of the garage. However, as soon as the car arrived at the gate of the base, Leo suddenly discovered that the head of the base, Shadon, was organizing people to close the gate of the base. The 033 base is located in the deep mountains, and there is no store in front of the village or behind. If people in the base want to go out to buy something, they have to drive an off-road vehicle for 3 or 4 hours in the forest. Therefore, the gate of the base is usually not closed. When people in the base are not on duty, they can go out to enjoy the beautiful scenery in the mountains, pick mushrooms, hunt game and so on. How could Leo guess that Sienna would temporarily let Shadon close the bases because of an experiment? But at this time, it was too late for Leo to turn around and go back to the garage. Shadon had already discovered the off-road vehicle Leo was driving and was bringing 2 people here to check the situation. Bucky, bow your head, get down. Leo made Bucky lie on the back seat, parked the car voluntarily, got out of the car door, took 2 steps forward to meet Shadon, and said with a smile as he walked. Director Shadon, on such an important day, why didn't you watch the lab, but instead came to the gate of the base to look at the gate? Shadon recognized Leo from a distance. After all, Leo was the one who came with the leader of Sienna, and he was also a student of Dr. Zola, who played a pivotal role in the super soldier experiment. Therefore, when Shadon found out that Leo was in the off-road vehicle, he also smiled. It was ordered by the leader. I can't do it if I don't come. Today is such an important day. Mr. Irwin, why are you not working in the laboratory? Where are you going? Leo casually made an excuse and said perfunctorily. I've been busy making all kinds of equipment and instruments for the past 2 days, and it was finally completed yesterday. I'm quite tired these 2 days, and I'm going to drive out for a walk today and relax. Shadon frowned, his face slightly ugly. Mr. Irwin has been working really hard these days, but you may not be able to go out today. The leader has told me that the base will be blocked today, and no one can enter or leave. Please don't make me embarrassed, Mr. Irwin. That's okay. Since it's the leader's order, I won't go out today. I'll go back to the laboratory, maybe I can catch up with the most exciting moment. After that, Leo was about to return to the off-road vehicle, ready to forcefully rush over. But Shadon stopped Leo and said, Mr. Irwin, I'm really sorry. Since you have already planned to go out today, according to the rules, I have to check this off-road vehicle. After all, I have to report to the chief at night. Saying that, Shadon walked towards the off-road vehicle ahead of Leo. Leo followed up and said, Director Shadon, otherwise don't look at it, I will explain it to the leader myself, save you the trouble. But the more Leo didn't let him see, the more suspicious Shadon became, and the quicker he walked, he soon reached the off-road vehicle. He first looked at the front of the car and found nothing, and then looked at the back of the car. Suddenly, an iron fist directly shattered the rear window of the off-road vehicle, and fell directly on Shadon's head near the window. With the crisp cracking of the glass, Shadon's head was smashed like a ripe watermelon, and the red and white flowed all over the floor. Leo, who had just arrived on his hind feet, looked at the headless corpse of Shadon who was knocked out a few meters away, shrugged helplessly, and said, I told you not to watch it, but you don't listen. Alas. The 2 agents who followed Shadon to check the situation were stunned by the sudden situation, and their minds went blank for a while. But Leo was not in a daze. He turned around quickly, the pistol on his waist flew up automatically, and was grabbed by Leo. How Leo is also a person with the basic firearms proficient skill. With 2 shots, the 2 agents were directly shot in the head. The sound of gunfire alerted the other guards at the gate of the base, but they still didn't know what was going on, but the shrewd agents sounded the alarm. Leo turned around and got into the night crossing car, turning his head to face Bucky while starting the car. Bucky, you did a good job, and you blew the enemy's head with 1 punch. Bucky was stunned for a moment. He had thought that Leo would reprimand him for making an assertion. But after only stunned for a moment, he came back to his senses and praised Leo. Mr. Irwin, you did a good job, headshot with a gun. Leo stepped on the accelerator, the engine of the off-road vehicle roared, and the whole car rushed out at once, knocking off a few agents who had just assembled, and then rushing out of the base gate. After rushing out a few hundred meters, Leo pulled out a remote control in his pocket and pressed the red button. The next moment, the explosives that Leo had arranged in the base in advance exploded. Due to the rush of time, the explosives that Leo set could not collapse the entire base, but it could also cause some casualties and confusion to the Hydras. Leo was sitting in the off-road vehicle, and with the sound of explosions, lines of system prompts suddenly appeared in front of him. System prompt. You have triggered the mission, Immortal Hydra. Task reminder. The Hydra organization has been destroyed once, but the new Hydra has been reborn again. Just like the slogan of Hydra, if one head is cut off, two will grow. In unknown corners, conspiracies led by Hydra take place one after another. As an agent of Hydra, you defected from the Hydra organization in pursuit of freedom. When you choose to stand on its opposite, you also take on the responsibility of destroying it. Task reminder. This task is a long-term task, and the current task completion degree is 0%. The reward will only be settled when the task completion rate reaches 100%. Task reminder. This task is mandatory and accepted by default. Leo looked at the newly triggered task and silently closed the system panel. For Leo, this task is not something that can be solved in a short time, and the role is dispensable. So Leo is not going to do it specially, just let it be. Chapter 31. A little bit forward in time, in the super soldier laboratory of the 033 base, a group of people are busy. As Dr. Zola pressed the buttons one by one, the super serum began to be injected into Qatar's body by the auto-injector that came with the super war breeding tank. With the end of the injection process, Dr. Zola gradually increased the power supply of the ray generator, and the inside of the super war cultivation chamber began to release more and more intense weta rays. Even those who stood outside the cultivation warehouse could see the dazzling light in the cultivation warehouse. At the same time, Qatar's heart-wrenching screams came from the cultivation warehouse. The screams were so permeating that Dr. Zola began to wonder if the experiment should continue. "Miss Sienna, are we going to stop the experiment? I don't think Agent Qatar can last any longer." Sienna was standing next to Dr. Zola, and she frowned when she heard Dr. Zola's suggestion. Qatar's screams got louder and louder. After Sienna frowned and thought for a while, she suddenly grabbed the knob in Dr. Zola's hand and turned the power supply to the maximum. At the same moment, the super war cultivation warehouse began to emit a dazzling white blue light, and at the same time, there was a crackling sound of electric current. Kettle suddenly heard a huge scream, and then there was no sound in the cultivation warehouse. Dr. Zola hurriedly turned off the power, and the white light of the cultivation warehouse dissipated, but it was still silent inside. At this time, no one knew whether the super soldier experiment was successful. Everyone held their breath and stared at the barn door of the cultivation barn. The entire laboratory suddenly fell into silence, and the silence was a bit terrifying. Suddenly, a harsh alarm sounded in the laboratory, startling everyone. Sienna picked up the walkie-talkie in her hand angrily and shouted loudly. "You fools, what happened outside? Why did the alarm sound suddenly?" An anxious shout came from the walkie-talkie, and someone replied. "This is the central control room. We found through surveillance that Mr. Leo Irwin, he killed Director Shadon at the gate of the base and ran off in an off-road vehicle." "What? It's impossible." Dr. Zola, who was standing beside him, looked in disbelief and couldn't help shouting. Sienna also wanted to confirm what happened to the central control room, but the next moment, explosions were heard from many places in the base at the same time, and this super soldier laboratory was no exception. The sudden explosion blew up a lot of Hydra's scientific research and logistics personnel. Some people were directly killed by the blast, but most of them suffered minor or serious injuries from the sudden explosion. They lay on the ground and started screaming and rolling. The place was in chaos immediately. Dr. Zola was seriously injured. One of his mechanical legs was directly blown off, and his body was smashed to the stone wall. The display screen on his chest was also shattered, and smoke was coming from his body. He was hurt so badly that he didn't even get up after struggling a few times. And Sienna was also disgraced by the sudden explosion, and her clothes were blown to pieces. But she just looked a little embarrassed, and her body was not injured. Sienna coughed a few times and slapped the dust off her body, looking extremely angry. Suddenly, Sienna heard another bang in her ear. She turned her head and saw that a metal plate was spinning towards her. She screamed angrily and smashed the metal plate to the ground with her fist. At this time, she discovered that the metal plate she smashed on the ground turned out to be the warehouse door of the super war cultivation warehouse. She immediately looked in the direction of the cultivation warehouse anxiously, for fear that something might happen to the super soldier plan. However, the next moment, she breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, in the cultivation barn without the barn door, Qatar, who seemed to have become much stronger, was pulling back his fists and struggling to sit up. He broke the steel hoop of his wrists and ankles directly. In this way, the super soldier experiment seems to be a success. Sienna now also knew what happened to the barn door that had just been swung. But she couldn't get mad at Qatar, because it didn't look like Qatar did it on purpose. So, Sienna put all the anger on Leo's head. Leo Irwin. Sienna's roar echoed in the super soldier laboratory, mixed with the screams of the injured, which sounded unusually infiltrating. At this time, Qatar, who had broken free, looked at the mess in the laboratory and looked very puzzled. He ran to Sienna with his upper body naked and asked, "Boss, what happened here?" Kettle's height was 10 centimeters higher than before the experiment, and his muscles became much stronger, like a wall. He suddenly stood next to Sienna, which made Sienna feel a little pressure. Sienna looked at Qatar's body, which was much stronger than before, and secretly cares about it. Now it seems that Kettle has been successfully strengthened by serum, and will be one of the top combat powers in Hydra in the future. But Kettle is not like the Winter Soldier Bucky, whose consciousness is controlled by the chip, and can be at the mercy of Sienna. Moreover, Sienna felt that this was not the best time to try to control Kettle's mind control ability. In the past, Sienna could ask Kettle to do anything at will. But now, Sienna felt that it was better to have a little respect. After the matter at hand was resolved in the future, Sienna felt that she had a way to make Qatar submit. Thinking of this, Sienna chose to suppress the irritability and anger in her heart, and patiently explained what happened to Qatar. Leo actually did such a thing. After listening to Sienna's explanation, Qatar was particularly surprised. He and Leo were in contact not long ago, and it only took a month to fully count. However, in his impression, Leo has always been a scientist dedicated to the Hydra organization. Even before the experiment began, Dr. Zola heard that Leo was overworked and fell ill in order to prepare the experimental equipment. Why did Leo seem to have changed in such a short period of time? You do not believe. Seeing Tar's unbelievable expression, Sienna knew what Kettle was thinking. Sienna went on to say, "Don't say you don't believe it. I, and Dr. Zola, don't believe that Leo did such a thing. So, Mr. Kettle, are you willing to accompany me to capture Leo and ask him why he betrayed Hydra?" Quote. When Qatar heard Sienna call him Mr., he became flirtatious in an instant. He patted his sturdy chest and continued, "Of course, beautiful Miss Sienna, of course I'd be willing to serve you." Hearing that Qatar no longer called herself the leader, Sienna felt a little uncomfortable, but she didn't have a seizure. She continued, "Mr. Kettle, you go to change your clothes first, and prepare the weapons and equipment you will bring. I will go to the underground cold storage to wake up the Winter Soldier. The three of us will act together, and Leo will definitely be able to capture it. If you're just dealing with Leo, there's no need to wake up the Winter Soldier, right? Be careful, there is no danger. There is an old saying in the East, the lion beats the rabbit, and you must use all your strength." After speaking, Sienna hurried to the underground cold storage. She was not the Winter Soldier who was awakened because Leo escaped, but because she saw that Kettle had a look of his own, ready to take the Winter Soldier and pack Qatar outside together. At that time, let Dr. Zola also put a chip in Kettle's brain, so that Sienna can be completely relieved. But, after a few minutes, Leo, I'm going to kill you." In the underground cold storage, there was a loud roar from Sienna. Obviously, she had discovered that Leo had kidnapped Bucky. Sienna quickly rushed back to her bedroom from the underground cold storage and found the Winter Soldier's chip control terminal. However, she noticed that a familiar error message was being displayed on the terminal at this point. In the next instant, Sienna wanted to understand everything. The wrong information on the terminal was caused by Leo, the power outage at the K-pop Tang base was caused by Leo, the Black Widow was let go by Leo. It's Leo, everything is Leo. At this time, Leo has become Sienna's thorn in the side and a thorn in the flesh. Sienna was thinking about the various evils that Leo had committed in the house, and the more she thought about it, the more angry she became. Suddenly, the walkie-talkie on her waist rang. "Miss Sienna, I'm Qatar. I'm ready to pursue, waiting for you at the gate of the base, are you ready?" Hearing Qatar's question, Sienna came back to her senses. She stuffed the chip control terminal into her pocket and hurried to the gate of the base. She is going to find Leo and kill Leo with her own hands. Because the garage at the entrance of the base was too conspicuous, Leo did not find an opportunity to place explosives. So, all the cars are still there. Kettle had already started an off-road vehicle at this time, waiting for Sienna. After Sienna came to the garage, she didn't even look at the ordinary off-road vehicle Qatar was driving. Instead, she walked to the end of the garage, opened a closed door with her ID card, and drove out an off-road vehicle that looked extremely rough. She waved her hand and let Qatar sit in the co-pilot, and then said, "This is an off-road vehicle modified by Dr. Zola, with an average speed of 1.8 times that of an ordinary off-road vehicle. This way we can catch up with Leo and the others." Wasn't Leo the only one who escaped? Kettle didn't know that Bucky had escaped with Leo, and then asked, "Also, didn't you go to wake up the Winter Soldier? What about the others?" "I'm afraid the Winter Soldier has already betrayed the organization with Leo. That boy Leo is definitely not simple, he is definitely not an ordinary person. We too meet them, and there is not much chance of winning. When the battle begins, don't underestimate the enemy." Quote. Sienna explained a few words to Qatar, turned on the radio of the modified off-road vehicle, and said, "Hey, I'm Sienna. Can you hear the central control room at base 033? This is the central control room of the 033 base. Chief, please instruct. Can you locate the off-road vehicle that Leo is driving? The positioning system of the off-road vehicle has been offline, and we cannot locate his location." Sienna thought so, and then she asked, "Is Dr. Zola there? Let him connect to the communication channel." After a murmur, Dr. Zola, whose robot body was half crippled, was helped by the Hydra soldiers to the central control room. He then connected to the communication channel through the built-in communication device. "Miss Sienna, I am Assam Zola. If you have any business, please tell me." Sienna quickly explained the situation of Leo and the Winter Soldier to Dr. Zola and asked, "Drive Zola, do you think the chip control terminal can still control the Winter Soldier?" "He even took the Winter Soldier." Dr. Zola looked even more disbelieving when he heard that Leo had even taken the Winter Soldier away. After being silent for a while, he said, "The control chip in the Winter Soldier's brain has only one program set, and that is to be loyal to Hydra. Unless his head is opened and the chip is taken out, the chip will definitely affect him all the time. I don't know what method Leo used to interfere with the chip in the Winter Soldier's brain, but according to my calculations, as long as you can get close to the Winter Soldier a certain distance, the control terminal must still be effective. At least it will make the Winter Soldier incapable of resisting." Quote. "That's good. That way I'll be sure to take both of them." Sienna gritted her teeth, and her eyes flashed fiercely. After thinking about it, she continued. "The central control room of the 033 base, instructed to go down, send all the existing armed forces of the base, follow me, and set off immediately." The order was passed out, and off-road vehicles began to assemble at the gate of the base. At this time, after being silent for a long time, Dr. Zola made a slightly old voice. "Miss Sienna, if possible, please try to bring Leo back alive. I have a lot of things to ask him in person." Quote. Sienna pondered for a moment, and hummed lightly. Afterwards, she chased the rut left by Leo, stepped on the accelerator, increased her horsepower, and caught up. In the forest, Leo had been driving the off-road vehicle away from the base for a while, and he was chatting with Bucky all the way. For the convenience of chatting, Bucky has climbed from the back of the car to the passenger seat. At this time, Leo asked Bucky, "Bucky, although I shouldn't bring up your sadness, I'm still curious, do you have a good relationship with Howard Stark?" Bucky fell silent when he heard Leo's question. "I'm sorry, if it's inconvenient for you to say, just pretend I didn't ask." "Fine." Bucky smiled wryly at Leo, and then said, "I'm not familiar with Mr. Stark, but I have a lot of respect for him, like all American soldiers. Mr. Stark and I were both born in 1917. The first time I met Mr. Stark was in 1943, when I was with Steve at the Tomorrowland Tech Expo hosted by Mr. Stark. Steve, you know, Steve Rogers, he's my best friend." Quote. Leo nodded and said, "The famous Captain America, of course I know. When I woke you up for the first time, I woke you up with his name." Bucky suddenly recalled the memory at that time, and immediately wanted to ask Leo something anxiously, but was interrupted by Leo. "I know what you want to ask, don't worry, you go ahead and talk about you and Stark. Captain America is a long story, and I can tell you slowly." Bucky suppressed the anxiety in his heart, rationalized his thoughts, and continued. "Ashamed to say, at 26, Mr. Stark was already a well-known scientist and inventor, and I was just a little sergeant soldier. I'm familiar with Mr. Stark, mostly because of Steve. Steve accidentally bumps into Dr. Erskine at the fair. Finally, in 1945, while tracking down the Hydra, I fell off a cliff, and you know what happened next. Unexpectedly, I have been fighting against Hydra for the first half of my life, and finally became Hydra's murder tool. Quote. Bucky tells everything about himself and Stark, most of which have something to do with Steve. In general, Bucky has a lot of respect for Stark and feels that Stark is a hero of the United States and a hero of the world. Moreover, Bucky expressed great regret for killing Stark himself. Bucky, don't blame yourself too much. This matter was instructed by the Hydra organization. You just acted as a knife. The real culprit is Hydra, Sienna. Leo comforted Bucky, and then in order to divert Bucky's attention, he began to tell the story of Captain America. Actually, your good friend, Steve Rogers, has disappeared. Also in 1945, after you fell off the cliff, Steve looked for you for a long time and couldn't find you, he thought you were dead. Therefore, he became very angry. In order to avenge you, he entered the Hydra base and found John Schmidt. In the end, he and Schmidt crashed in the Arctic Ocean together and perished together. Quote. Bucky looked unbelievable after hearing this, and kept asking Leo why he knew this and what evidence he had. Most of the stories are written in American history books, and you can always check them out. Some of the details and secrets of the stories are known to me from within Hydra. Leo gave Bucky ample evidence, and then continued. But as far as I know, it's just Hydra's statement that they died together. They haven't confirmed Steve's death. Maybe he's still alive, who knows? But Bucky remained silent, looking sad. Bucky was silent for a long time, and Leo didn't know how to comfort him. In the end, Leo bit the bullet and broke the embarrassment, and secretly regretted that he had nothing to talk about with him about Howard and Steve. Bucky Barnes. Leo called Bucky formally and asked him to focus on himself, and then continued. You know what, you're free. At the next moment, Leo didn't know if Bucky had any, and recovered from the sadness of Steven's life and death, but Leo had no time to take care of Bucky's emotions. Even, Leo lowered the speed of the car a lot, and was distracted to the system panel in front of him. Because, at the moment Leo's voice just fell, the dense system prompts were refreshed. System prompt. Congratulations on completing the mission, saving American soldier, Bucky Barnes, the mission evaluation qualified. Leo glanced at the mission evaluation and was slightly puzzled. He remembered that the last time he completed Black Widow's mission, the mission evaluation was excellent. Is it because I didn't stop Bucky the Winter Soldier and let him kill Howard Stark? Did the system encourage me to change history? Or is it because I only temporarily blocked the chip in Bucky's brain, and didn't get rid of the chip completely? Quote. Leo pondered for a long time, but could not find the reason for the low evaluation of the task. He put this matter aside first and looked at the task reward. The mission of saving the American soldier, Bucky Barnes, has been completed, the mission reward is now settled, and the settlement is in progress. You get the character card of the Winter Soldier X1, and you can also get a random skill or specialty of the Winter Soldier of the mission target. The reward is randomized, please choose one of the following 3 options as a reward. 1. Advanced fighting skills. Passive skills. You can skillfully use your body to fight, your fists and feet are the most deadly weapons. 2. Cold weapon proficiency. Passive skill. You can use all kinds of cold weapons proficiently to exert 100% of its power. 3. Advanced firearms proficiency. Passive skills. You can use all kinds of firearms proficiently, and have super high accuracy. After reading the 3 options, Leo was slightly disappointed. Sure enough, the quest reward for a qualified evaluation is far inferior to the reward for an excellent evaluation. These 3 passive skills seem to be tasteless to Leo. It is a pity to abandon it, and it is tasteless to eat. These are all skills that can be acquired through training. What Leo wants most is a speciality like Serum transforms the body, and it's better to have an active skill like Charge Burst. In the end, after thinking about it, Leo chose Advanced Fighting Technique. This skill can also be used with the light-loaded power arm Type 6 that Leo brought on the car. With the Advanced Fighting Technique skill selected, all other options disappeared. At the same time, Leo had a lot of fighting skills in his mind, as if he was born with it. With the random reward selected, Leo is ready to check out the newly acquired Winter Soldier character card. According to Leo's gameplay routine in the previous life, at this time, he should find someone who is usually very lucky to breathe a wave of European energy before opening the card. But now, besides Leo, only Bucky is left in the car. Leo thought about Bucky's tragic life, and finally gave up on sucking him. Opening the attribute panel, Leo clicked on the so-called Winter Soldier character card with his mind. The card spins a few times and finally reveals its properties. Shet. Leo slammed the steering wheel with his right hand, and the car swayed at a rapid pace, almost hitting a big rock. Bucky was startled, woke up from a daze, and quickly asked Leo what happened. Leo was silent for a while, then looked Bucky up and down, and said angrily, "Bucky, in the past few years at the Hydra base, you have really developed a strong skill." Bucky didn't know what Leo was referring to, so he could only nod blankly. Leo sighed helplessly, then stepped on the accelerator to start accelerating, and started the car intently. Bucky saw that Leo didn't want to continue chatting, so he continued to be stunned. Leo drove the car very fast, but the Winter Soldier character card he just got kept popping up in his mind, and the attributes of the character card were unbelievable. Finally, he called up the attribute panel again, and reluctantly glanced at it again. Winter Soldier character card, use 10 out of 10 times. With the skill, Golden Gun does not fall. The Golden Gun does not fall. The Winter Soldier has developed a strong ability under the nourishment of Sienna in the Hydra base. After each activation of this skill, no matter who the opposite gender is, you can last for at least 1 hour. After reading the skill again, Leo sighed a few times, which is a pity. The system panel was then quickly closed. Leo secretly made up his mind that when he receives a task in the future, he must complete it perfectly. Take a look at this qualified evaluation task. What are the rewards? Leo put the matter of the character card aside and continued to drive the car through the mountains and forests. Leo just glanced at the map of the 033 base, and was not very clear about the detailed terrain nearby. For some reason, he drove the car to a rough road, and the car started to bump up. He had to slow down the car and sift through the flatter ground patiently and attentively. Leo was driving the car attentively when suddenly, he heard a low roar from his right hand. He turned his head to look, and was surprised to find that Bucky, who was in a daze, suddenly became bloodshot in his eyes, holding his hair with both heads, looking in pain and struggle. Leo hurriedly stopped the car, shook Bucky hard with his right hand, and asked, "Bucky, are you okay? What's wrong?" "Ah, my head hurts. Something seems to be buzzing in my head." Bucky twisted his body in pain and said in a hoarse voice, "It must be Sienna, she's chasing after her. I feel a consciousness in my head trying to control my body." Leo quickly stared at Bucky's head and activated the Mechanical Force Insight skill. In the special Mechanical Force field of vision, Leo saw that the chip in Bucky's brain was glistening with the power of bioelectricity. A little bit of stars flashed inside the chip, as if there was energy flowing. Leo, who has long known the working principle of the chip, knows that this is the control terminal of the chip trying to reactivate the function of the chip. And as far as Leo knows, only Sienna has a control terminal in her hands. And, by observing the frequency of the chip flickering, Leo guessed that Sienna should be not far from them. Sure enough, the next moment, Leo heard the sound of a car engine in the distance behind him. He turned his head and saw that there was a rugged off-road vehicle galloping towards him. It was extremely fast compared to the off-road vehicle he was driving now. Leo looked at Bucky, who was in increasing pain, and knew that he couldn't be expected to help him in the next battle. But Leo didn't want him to be regained control by Sienna either, so he yelled at Bucky. "Bucky, take the portable signal jammer I gave you. Think about the innocent, tragic death of the Starks, think about Steve who doesn't know whether to live or die, think about the sin of Hydra, and think about the beliefs in your heart. Hold on, don't get your mind back, believe in yourself, you can." Quote. Leo didn't know if it was useful to shout like this, but the time was running out. He got out of the car quickly, opened the trunk of the car, and took out the light-loaded power arm Type 6. Leo's body was surging with mechanical force, and the light-loaded power arm V-type automatically flew up, and all the interfaces were automatically engaged, and quickly fixed on Leo's body. With the help of mechanical force, Leo quickly adapted to the new light power arm. After moving his hands and feet on the spot, he immediately rushed towards the off-road vehicle that had begun to enter the uneven road in the distance. Leo felt that he had to stop the off-road vehicle, and never let Sienna bring the chip controller to Bucky. Because, if it gets too close, Leo can't be sure whether Bucky will be recontrolled by Sienna and become a Winter Soldier who only knows how to kill. In that case, Leo felt that his chances of winning would be slim to none. So, Leo began to rush towards Sienna, preparing to place the battlefield farther away from Bucky. At the same time, Leo called up the system panel and activated his whole card Black Widow character card. Black Widow character card, use 1/1 times. After using this character card, the host can temporarily obtain the physical fitness of Black Widow for 60 minutes. As the character card turned into a light spot and dissipated, the next moment, Leo felt full of power. Not wanting to be left behind, the system sent out dense reminders. Leo glanced roughly and found that under the bonus effect of the Black Widow character card, various skills were activated. But these skills are followed by the word, temporary, and last for 60 minutes. With the help of the system, Leo quickly adapted to his suddenly stronger body. In the next moment, his speed suddenly increased a lot, and he rushed towards the off-road vehicle driven by Sienna like an arrow from the string. Sienna had already seen Leo and the others parked in front of the off-road vehicle from a distance, and then witnessed Leo wearing a light-loaded power arm Type 6. Then she saw Leo rushing towards them. "Hey, Miss Sienna, Leo wouldn't naively think that he could beat you and me with the half armor on him." Qatar pointed at Leo who was rushing towards him and sneered disdainfully. "Look at him wearing that heavy half armor and running as slow as a turtle. When he runs in front of us, he won't even have the strength to stand, right?" Kettle suddenly got a serum-enhanced body, and was in a state of infinite conceit, pointing at Leo, from a soft sneer to a contemptuous laugh. "Don't take it lightly, I don't think Leo is a simple person." As soon as Sienna finished speaking, she saw Leo suddenly start to speed up, rushing over at a speed that surprised her, and in a blink of an eye, he was about 100 meters in front of the off-road vehicle. Kettle was also startled by Leo's sudden acceleration. But when he calmed down, he found that although Leo's speed was fast, it was similar to his current top speed. Just because Leo's movement speed changed too much before and after using the Black Widow character card, the sudden change surprised both Sienna and Kettle. The calm Qatar looked at Leo who was not far in front of him and shouted loudly, "Bump him." Sienna's face turned cold at the time, but she changed her mind and held back her attack. And Kettle didn't notice Sienna's face, still staring at Leo, shouting excitedly, a little mentally ill. Sienna held back her unhappiness, stepped on the accelerator, clenched the steering wheel, and hit Leo at the right angle. The off-road vehicle was extremely fast, and Leo was also running towards the off-road vehicle. In the blink of an eye, the two were about to collide. But in the next instant, Leo pushed his legs hard and jumped up. Under the effect of the relative speed difference between the two, Leo's body flew past the roof of the off-road vehicle. At a critical moment, Leo pulled the left rear of the off-road vehicle with his right hand with a power arm. Then he pressed his fingers hard, and most of his right palm was embedded in the shell of the off-road vehicle. Under the action of the huge pulling force, the rear shell immediately began to deform, and the next moment, the entire rear cover was separated from the body. Leo's body fell to the ground in a whirl under the combined action of inertia and tilting and pulling force. However, his physique is very strong. After just rolling a few times on the ground, he stood up immediately, basically unscathed. At the same time, the off-road vehicle that Sienna was driving, because it was too fast, was pulled so hard by Leo, and it went out of control. The entire off-road vehicle turned over from left to right, with the chassis facing up, and slid along the ground for more than 10 meters before being persuaded to stop by a big tree. The moment the car hit the tree, two figures kicked the left and right car doors at the same time and came out of the car. It was only at this time that Leo noticed that in addition to the still charming Sienna, there was a tall, sturdy white man who was chasing after him. And this strong man, Leo felt a little familiar, but he couldn't think of who it was for a while. But before Leo thought about it, the strong white man had already started shouting at Leo. "Leo, Miss Sienna is not mean to you, why did you betray the Hydra organization?" Leo heard a familiar voice and finally recognized who this strong white man was. He murmured in a low voice, "Sheet, it's really bad luck. Qatar has been successfully strengthened. I would have buried the bomb in the breeding bin if I knew it earlier." But Leo also casually said that he was addicted to his mouth and relieved the depression in his heart. Originally, a Sienna Leo didn't know if he could fight, but now there is another super soldier. Leo felt a little drum in his heart at this time, secretly thinking about countermeasures. Suddenly, Leo, who was thinking about countermeasures, found that a task prompt had appeared in front of him. You have triggered the mission, Chase and Kill. Quest tip. No matter what organization, as long as someone betrays them, they will be hunted down. Therefore, Sienna, the leader of the Hydra organization, took Kettle to launch revenge against you. Task content. Get rid of the pursuit of the Hydra organization. Task reminder. This task is mandatory and accepted by default. Leo looked at the mission and found that this mission was not helpful to his current situation. Then he silently closed the system panel and continued to think about countermeasures. Qatar saw Leo standing in the distance and didn't answer him. Instead he was muttering something in a low voice and was furious in his heart. He stepped hard and quickly flew towards Leo, and he was going to teach Leo a lesson. Leo saw Qatar rushing towards him unarmed, and cursed, "Is this Qatar an idiot? A person like him, rushing towards Leo without protection, is not a living target." The next moment, Leo raised his hand to catch the two pistols that were automatically flying from his waist, and shot quickly in the direction of Kettle. The gunshots were continuous, and Leo directly emptied 2 magazines. Then, the spare clip automatically flew up, and Leo began pouring fire on Qatar again. Kettle originally saw Leo wearing a light-powered arm Type 6, and thought Leo would fight him hand-to-hand. But when the dense number of bullets hit him in the face, he realized what a fatal mistake he had made. The speed of the bullet was much faster than Qatar's, and it was too late when he wanted to dodge. In the end, he gritted his teeth, covered his face with his arms, and squatted and quickly ran behind a big tree on his right. Kettle finally ran behind the tree, and Leo emptied all his magazines. 4 clips and dozens of bullets, at least half of which hit Qatar's arms, chest and abdomen. Most of the bullets were caught by Qatar's strong muscles, but a few bullets penetrated the muscles' defenses, got into his body, and even injured his internal organs. Qatar began to bleed. He sat behind a tree and panted heavily, and he lost his fighting power for a while. Leo is well aware of the wise saying that taking advantage of his illness to kill him. The moment he emptied the magazine, he threw the pistol and rushed towards Qatar, who was dying behind the tree. The first time Sienna saw Leo draw his gun, she hid behind the off-road vehicle. At this time, she saw that Kettle was hit by a bullet and hid behind a tree, and Leo was about to pounce to make up for the knife. The situation was very urgent. She quickly took a step forward and released her mind control ability to Leo. Leo, who was running, suddenly felt a tingling in his brain, which made him have to stop. He glanced at the system panel, and sure enough, he found that Sienna had used a powerful mind control ability on him. The next moment, Leo's advanced mind resistance from Black Widow began to work, offsetting the negative effects of Sienna's mind control. Sienna also knew that she could not successfully control Leo with mind control. After she used her ability, she immediately began to draw a gun and shoot at Leo. But Leo recovered faster than she imagined. I saw Leo took all the bullets with his robotic arm, and then dodged behind a raised stone. The two of you chase after me and hide, the distance is getting closer and closer. At the same time, Sienna quickly emptied all the bullets she was carrying. Sienna angrily threw the pistol to the ground and rushed up to start a hand-to-hand fight with Leo. And Leo's explosion has a time limit, and at this time, he can't wait to fight with Sienna like this. He saw Sienna rushing over, and he rushed forward without hesitation. Afterwards, the two got into a fight and began to communicate intimately with each other. As soon as they fought, Leo realized how powerful Sienna was. Leo with a light-powered arm can barely surpass Sienna in strength. Moreover, Sienna has superb fighting skills. If Leo didn't happen to get advanced fighting skills from Bucky, Leo felt that he couldn't last a few rounds at all. The two were fighting fiercely. Therefore, none of them noticed that Qatar, who was leaning against the tree, was changing strangely. For some reason, the bullet that got into Qatar's body was being squeezed out by his muscles, and the wound was blocked by a mass of muscles. This is not the end. The muscles on Qatar's body suddenly began to proliferate uncontrollably, and even more than a dozen tentacle-like things slowly grew, and they grew longer and longer. At the same time, the crazy expressions on Qatar's face piled up, as if he was about to lose his mind. On the other side, Leo and Sienna have been fighting fiercely for several minutes, and both of them are more or less injured. Moreover, because the clothes on their bodies could not withstand the impact of the two people's strength, they began to crack open one after another, and they looked disheveled. Because Leo was wearing a light armor type 6 that resembled a half armor, Sienna greeted Leo's head with every punch and every kick, trying to kill him with one blow. But Leo has an alloy arm, and he is not afraid of pain, and has the bonus of power arm strength, so every time he is not afraid at all. When he raises his arm, he will face the punches and feet attacked by Sienna. In addition, Leo occasionally finds opportunities to attack Sienna's plump chest. The two fought hard again, and Leo took advantage of the moment when Sienna's body was stiff, and slammed a straight punch towards Sienna's chest. Sienna reluctantly dodged, took a few steps back, gasped for a moment, and then licked her lips and said, "Why, you haven't given up on my body, do you have to touch my chest before giving up? If it wasn't for Dr. Zola's constant blocking, I would have done you a long time ago. It's a pity now, how could I never find out that you have such good physical fitness?" Quote. Leo listened to Sienna's ridicule, kept silent, aimed at Sienna's chest, and continued to attack. Leo aimed at Sienna's chest and attacked, and the reason was not as bad as Sienna said. But because, in Leo's special mechanical force vision, Sienna's translucent chest, there was a tiny mechanical creature emitting a shimmering light, and that was the control terminal that controlled Bucky. Leo didn't expect Sienna to hide the terminal in her underwear. But the first time Leo decided to control the terminal position, he didn't hesitate at all, and started to attack Sienna's towering chest, without feeling embarrassed at all. Sienna had already discovered that Leo's drunkard's intention was not drinking, and also guessed that Bucky should be on the off-road vehicle in front, and the control terminal she hid in her chest might have hope of regaining control of Bucky. Therefore, during the battle, she has been trying to find a way to approach the off-road vehicle. But Leo kept dragging her down. Although the two kept moving, they kept spinning, and Sienna couldn't find a chance to approach the off-road vehicle. The two were still fighting non-stop, with fists and feet intertwined, fighting for another 10 minutes. At this time, Leo found that the energy of the light-loaded power arm Type 6 was almost insufficient. Without the assistance of the light-loaded power arm, Leo's strength will be no match for Sienna, and the situation is very bad. But for a while, Leo couldn't think of any way to break the game, so he could only hold on. The two walked while fighting, and before they knew it, they circled to the big tree that Qatar was leaning against. Suddenly, a roar came from behind the tree. This roar didn't sound like a human at all, but more like a ferocious beast. Since Sienna was subconsciously protecting Qatar, she was closer to the tree. The sudden, huge roar startled Leo and Sienna, and they both stopped and looked behind the tree, and then saw a monster. A barely human-shaped thing was crawling on the ground, with long tentacles dancing erratically on his back, on his chest, and even on the top of his head. As Leo and Sienna looked at the monster's body, the monster suddenly raised its head as if it had noticed something. Leo and Sienna were surprised to find that the monster was holding Qatar's distorted face. With his knowledge in online novels in his previous life, Leo had guesses in his heart the first time he saw the monster. At this time, he found that the guess came true, and he immediately recalled the test results obtained by Dr. Zola's experiments on mice at that time, the rapid proliferation of muscles in the mice. At that time, Leo also asked Dr. Zola if there was any problem with the serum, and Dr. Zola was not sure. Now it looks like Howard Stark's restored super serum is a failure. Although this super serum strengthens the physical fitness of the injected person, it also turns the injected person into an irrational monster. Because Sienna did not have the knowledge of Leo, when she saw that the monster covered with tentacles turned out to be Kettle, she was much more frightened than Leo. More than 10 minutes ago, in Sienna's heart, she also regarded Qatar as the object of her desire to vent in the future. And now, looking at Qatar who is covered in tentacles, she is naturally more stimulated. Qatar, who turned into a monster, raised his head and let out a roar again. Agitated by the roar, Leo quickly recovered from his stupor and rushed towards Sienna, who had not recovered yet. Leo raised his right fist high, and slammed into Sienna's chest with excitement. At the critical moment, Sienna reacted, clasping Leo's fist with both hands, and then she was about to back away. But how could Leo make her wish? He quickly stretched out his left hand and grabbed Sienna's right arm, and at the same time, his right hand supported, and he began to wrestle with Sienna. The two fell into a stalemate, and the distance between their faces was less than a foot. Sienna was shocked when she saw Leo, who was close at hand. But in the next instant, she smiled charmingly at Leo, and by the way activated her mind control skills. Leo completely ignored the effect of mind control, stared at Sienna's face, and began to laugh sinisterly. Sienna saw Leo laugh, not knowing why. However, in the next moment, she suddenly felt a tickling sensation in her chest. Sienna felt itchy in her chest, and Leo, who was close at hand, was laughing sinisterly. I saw that between the ravines, the small chip control terminal was vibrating by itself, as if a hand was fiddling with it. The tremors became more and more severe, and Sienna even felt her chest hurt from being hit. The next moment, the control terminal suddenly made a crackling sound, and it was directly twisted and deformed, and it was broken. Leo's face immediately showed joy. The control terminal has been destroyed by his mechanical force, and Bucky should recover soon. The two were still wrestling, and neither dared to let go first. But the difference is that Leo's face is full of pride, while Sienna's face is somber as if water is about to drip. Suddenly, Qatar, who turned into a monster, let out another roar and rushed towards the two who were standing still. He waved his tentacles, his eyes were crazy, as if his 6 relatives did not recognize him, and he was going to attack Sienna and Leo at the same time. The two glanced at Qatar, who was rushing towards him, and then looked at each other again. Then they released their hands in unison and stepped back. The next moment, Qatar arrived, and 5 or 6 tentacles inserted directly and deeply into the place where the two stood. Leo glanced at the tips of the other tentacles and found that they had formed a thick cuticle, which looked extremely hard. Qatar's blow didn't work, and he pulled his tentacles from the ground, throwing his head back and screaming in anger. He shook his head and looked at Leo and Sienna on the left and right with scarlet eyes. Then, for some unknown reason, he left Leo on the air, stared at Sienna, and chased after him with his tentacles. Leo stood on the spot, touched his nose very innocently, and spread his hands to Sienna, who was hurriedly parrying a dozen tentacles and was in an unusual state of embarrassment. Sienna glared angrily at Leo, who was making small gestures and mocking him. She was stabbed by a few tentacles, and roared and knocked Qatar flying. Then, she started running around the tree, making a circle with Qatar. Although Leo wanted to catch up and wait for the opportunity to grab the head, he was worried that Qatar would turn his head and stare at him to attack when he lost his mind. After thinking about it, he turned his head and ran in the direction of Bucky's SUV. The control terminal of the chip has been destroyed by him for so long, and Bucky has not come out to help. Leo wants to see if there is an accident. Leo ran back to the off-road vehicle, opened the door on the passenger side, and found Bucky slumped in his chair, staring blankly ahead without even blinking his eyelids. A lifeless look. If Leo hadn't noticed that Bucky's chest was still heaving, he would have thought he was dead. Clap clap. Leo raised his right hand and slapped Bucky twice, shouting, "Hey Bucky, how are you?" Bucky finally came back to his senses. Seeing that it was Leo, he let out a long sigh, and then smiled bitterly. "Mr. Irwin, do you know how painful I was just now? I almost swallowed a gun and killed myself just now." Leo heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that Bucky was still conscious. He looked at the chase and kill quest in the system panel again. The quest requirement was to escape from Sienna and Qatar's chase, and it was basically completed now. But Leo's heart moved. If he turned back now, and together with Bucky, killed Sienna and Qatar, would the mission evaluation be improved a lot? After thinking about it carefully, Leo made up his mind. This is done. Leo pulled Bucky out of the car door, let him stand up against the car, and pointed to the back road. "You're all right now, the chip control terminal has been destroyed by me. Bucky, cheer up, Sienna is over there. She's in a state of embarrassment now, and it's a good time for us to kill her. Can you still fight?" Quote. Bucky was shocked, and his eyes lit up immediately. He first bent down and picked up the pistol next to the car seat, which was almost used to commit suicide, and then immediately greeted Leo, ready to run to the back, and asked excitedly, "Mr. Irwin, where's de Sienna? Let's kill her together." Leo was not in a hurry to chase after him. He stopped Bucky, first glanced at the direction of the original battlefield, and found that Qatar and Sienna had disappeared after chasing and fleeing. He took out 2 submachine guns and enough pills from the trunk of the off-road vehicle, and armed himself and Bucky first. Then, Leo set off with Bucky, ready to kill Sienna. Leo walked and told Bucky what had just happened, and arranged the next tactics. The two followed the traces left by Sienna and Qatar and quickly chased after them. Sienna and Kettle can run really fast. 10 minutes later, Leo and Bucky caught up. However, Leo and Bucky only tracked down Qatar, who was covered in tentacles, but Sienna disappeared. When Leo and Bucky spotted Qatar, he was wandering aimlessly among the rubble. Due to the covert movement of the two, Kettle did not notice the approaching Leo and Bucky. In order to avoid cheating, Leo and the Winter Soldier spent another 5 minutes searching around Kettle. However, they still found no trace of Sienna. Leo glanced at his system panel and found that the duration of the Black Widow mission card was running out, and immediately whispered to Bucky. "Bucky, don't look for Sienna anymore, let's kill Qatar and go." Bucky nodded in response, and the two began to approach Kettle quietly. After approaching the distance of 30 meters, the two found cover, looked at each other, and started to shoot at Qatar with submachine guns. Qatar lost his mind, and the moment he heard the gunshots, he didn't turn around and fled, but rushed towards Leo and Bucky. The ending was obvious. Leo and Bucky smashed Qatar to pieces with submachine guns, and his tentacles were broken several times. Afterwards, the two of them quickly evacuated and drove off in an off-road vehicle. The words are divided into two parts. After Sienna was desperately injured, knocked Qatar away, and started escaping and chasing after Qatar, with the passage of time, Qatar, with the help of tentacles, even caught up with Sienna again. So Sienna and Qatar fought again. At the same time, Sienna also began to try to control Kettle with her mind control ability. Kettle's spirit is very confused. When Sienna tried to control Qatar, she could not feel any resistance from Qatar. It stands to reason that Sienna should be able to control Qatar easily. But the fact is, Kettle is still chasing Sienna with red eyes, and is desperate. It seems that Kettle's body is not controlled by his consciousness, but by the instinct of muscles. So, Sienna hit the cotton like an iron fist, and felt extremely uncomfortable. In the end, she struggled to get injured, knocked Qatar flying again, and then ran to the distance with all her strength to suckle. After walking around a few sites, she climbed up a big tree the size of one person hugging each other. A strange thing happened. Qatar, who turned into a monster, chased near the big tree, but he couldn't find any trace of Sienna, and began to wander. As Qatar walked away, Sienna jumped from the tree and ran away quickly. But she wasn't going to let go of Qatar, who had chased her so badly, and she wasn't going to let Leo and the others go. The armed forces in the base should have arrived soon, and Sienna is ready to join them, and then use machine guns and cannons to greet all those who make her angry. After Sienna left, she quickly followed the way she came and found the armed forces that departed from the 033 base. Dr. Zola also chased after the troops. He has already briefly repaired his body with a multifunctional robotic arm in the car, and now he can walk normally. Dr. Zola was very surprised when he saw Sienna, who was alone and covered in injuries, and asked, "Miss Sienna, how did you do this? Where's Leo? Where's the Winter Soldier? Where's Qatar?" Sienna briefly described what happened to Dr. Zola, and then led the large army to the direction of the original battlefield. However, they searched the vicinity and did not find Leo and Bucky, but only the broken body of Kettle. Dr. Zola left to clean up Qatar's body, ready to take it back for research as a sample. And Sienna took a group of people again and continued to chase the rut left by Leo. However, the time dragged on for too long, and Leo and the others had already driven the car onto the highway. Sienna and the others chased along the road for a while along the dirt marks left on the wheels, and finally lost the trail of Leo and Bucky at a fork in the road. Although Sienna was very angry, she could only return disappointed. On the asphalt road, Bucky the Winter Soldier was driving aimlessly. At this time, Leo was sleeping on the back seat of the car. They killed Kettle, ran back to the off-road vehicle, and drove away. Not long after, the bonus effect of the Black Widow character card disappeared from Leo. The next moment, Leo felt weak and his hands were shaking. As a last resort, Leo asked Bucky to come to the car and lay down in the back of the car to take a rest. But shortly after he lay down, he fell asleep in a daze because he was too tired. I don't know how Bucky chose the road, and the road ahead suddenly became full of potholes. The SUV ran through a small puddle at high speed and jolted violently. Leo was woken up and pouted all of a sudden. When he realized that he was still in the car, he breathed a sigh of relief. He stretched and rubbed his face again. After closing his eyes and resting for a while, Leo felt his mouth start to dry out. At the same time, extreme hunger spread from his stomach. Fortunately, Leo was fully prepared before leaving. He reached out from the rear seat and took out a small bag from the trunk. The bag contained dry food and drinking water prepared by Leo. Leo ate and drank, and it took a long time to fill his stomach. After he was full, he moved his body and found that after a good night's sleep, his body's injuries had recovered a lot, and he was relieved. Bucky, how long have I slept? Almost 3 hours. It's been so long. You park your car on the side of the road, let's take a break first. Bucky stopped the car according to his words, and Leo handed him some dry food. He was indeed a little hungry, and he ate in big gulps. Leo got out of the car, stood on the side of the road, looked around, and asked, Bucky, do you know the way? Where are we? Bucky chewed something in his mouth and said vaguely, after you slept, I tried to go south as much as possible. I passed a few small towns along the way, but to avoid trouble, I didn't talk to anyone and went straight around. So I don't know where this is, cough. Leo angrily threw a water bottle to Bucky, preventing the dry food from choking Bucky to death. He picked up another jug and began to take a sip of water. Leo quietly opened the system panel, glanced at the chase and kill task, and found that the task had been completed. At this time, he really felt relieved and let out a long breath. Now that the system has prompted the task to be completed, it means that he and Bucky have successfully escaped the pursuit of Hydra. During the time when Leo was sleeping, the system had already swiped the news of the task settlement, and was waiting for Leo to make a choice. System prompt. Chase and kill, task has been completed. Task evaluation, excellent. The task is being settled. After the settlement is completed, you can choose one of the following 3 options as a reward. 1. Super Serum strengthens the body times personal expertise. The Super Serum possessed by Kettle strengthens the body. After being purified of the negative effects, the strengthening ability is also greatly weakened. 2. Berserk active skill. After activating the skill, for the next 10 minutes, your power will be doubled, but at the same time, you may lose your mind and become indistinguishable. Note 1. The negative effects of this skill can be offset by mental resistance skills. Note 2. After the skill effect ends, you will be in a weak state for 30 minutes. 3. Intermediate fighting skills, active skills. You can use your body more proficiently to fight, your fists and feet are your good helpers. Seeing that the task evaluation was excellent, Leo nodded with satisfaction. It seems that his original idea was correct, and killing Qatar did increase the mission evaluation. If Sienna could be killed at the same time, Leo felt that the mission evaluation would be even higher. But Sienna ran too fast, and Leo could only sigh a pity. After reading all the system prompts, Leo suddenly found that there was no character card in this mission reward, which made him feel a little disappointed. However, he was only slightly disappointed. There was at least one reward waiting for him to choose, not nothing. The task reward of excellent evaluation is indeed much better than that of qualified ones. Leo first skipped the rubbish option 3 that made up the number, and glanced back and forth between 1 and 2. In the end, because Leo was not satisfied with the debilitating effect of option 2, he chose option 1. Super Serum strengthening body time has been activated and is merging with your body. The cell activity in Leo's body began to increase, the muscle strength and bone density began to increase, he felt full of strength, and the injury on his body was completely healed. The physical changes soon ended. Leo closed his eyes and felt his current physical fitness, and found that it was only about 40% of that when he used the Black Widow character card. It seems that the system is not deceiving, saying that the strengthening ability has been greatly weakened, and it has been directly weakened by more than half. But Leo was very satisfied with this strengthening effect. Because of the enhancement of his physical fitness, it also brought him other benefits. Sure enough, when his body was strengthened, the mechanical force in his body also became more active, and the upper limit of the mechanical force was directly increased by about 5 times. At the same time, a passive skill is also unlocked. Because your overall physical quality meets the requirements, mechanical force recovery has been unlocked. Mechanical force recovery passive skill. The mechanical force refining method will automatically operate in a low efficiency mode and can automatically restore the mechanical force. This skill has been experienced by Leo when he used the Black Widow character card, and the effect is quite good. Leo has already selected the task reward, and Bucky is still eating dry food. Bucky, are you full? If you're not full, go to the co-pilot and I'll drive. Bucky smiled awkwardly, but still didn't want to drop the food in his hand. He obediently climbed to the co-pilot and continued to deal with the dry food. Mr. Irwin, these jerkies are delicious. You know, most of these days I'm frozen in ice and living on nutrient solution. There's a bird out of my mouth. You don't need to call me Mr. Irwin in the future, just call me Leo. Don't eat too much jerky, it's bad for your stomach. Leo started the car and said to Bucky as he stepped on the accelerator. Bucky, we've managed to escape Hydra now. You also have a portable jammer now that you can get rid of the chip's control, and I've basically fulfilled our promise. So, what are your plans for the future? Quote, the car sped along the asphalt, the engine hummed loudly. But if the engine sound was removed, after Leo asked that sentence, there was only silence in the car. After a long time, Bucky said, although I always wanted to get rid of Hydra's control. But after I really succeeded, I suddenly didn't know where to go. I am familiar with America more than 40 years ago, not now. In this day and age, there is no one I know well. At present, there is nothing else that interests me other than seeking revenge for the Hydra organization. What's even more irritating is that by myself, I can't compete with the Hydra organization at all. Quote, Bucky angrily smashed his left palm with his right hand, looking very lost. Why don't you follow me? Seeing that Bucky had no plans for the future, Leo tentatively sent an invitation to Bucky, saying, I have something to do, but I'm short of available manpower. Also, a portable jammer is a cure for the symptoms, not the root cause. Although I destroyed the control terminal in Sienna's hand, Dr. Zola can make another one. You're alone. There is also the risk of being recontrolled. Of course, during the process of escaping from the base, I was a burden, and I didn't help much, and I always felt very guilty. It can even be said that Leo, you desperately rescued me from the Hydra base, I owe you my life. After listening to Leo's suggestion, Bucky's eyes lit up, and he nodded in agreement without hesitation. Then, he took out the portable signal jammer in his pocket and said, the chip in my head is indeed a big problem. And I don't know anything about these electronics and such, and without you, if this thing breaks, I can't find anyone to fix it. Thank you, Leo. It is very kind of you to take me in. Quote, seeing Bucky being so active, Leo felt a little speechless, and there was no use for a lot of flickering words in his stomach. He touched his nose, then pointed at the portable jammer and said, there are not many people who can repair this thing, and the power supply inside is only enough for you to use for a month. It seems that you really can't live without me now. Nabaki, just follow me first, I will find a way to completely get rid of the chip in your head. At that time, you probably have already adapted to this new era and have your own hobbies. Then you can decide to stay. Quote, Bucky nodded in agreement and sincerely thanked Leo again. Leo laughed twice, then drove the car with one hand, raised the other hand and said to Bucky, then it's settled. Come, high five and celebrate our freedom. Snapped. The Winter Soldier's iron palm and Leo's right palm clung to each other, and Leo laughed happily. The Winter Soldier thought Leo was happy because he was free, but he smirked and exclaimed, Leo, you are much more happy and optimistic now than in the Hydra base. Really, you are the same. Maybe Hydra itself is a depressing place, which is why I always wanted to leave there. Leo is happy, of course, not only because he successfully escaped from the Hydra base. What he was really happy about was keeping Bucky by his side, and Bucky looked quite determined. In this way, Leo not only gained a powerful thug, but he can also connect with Captain America through Bucky in the future. Captain America is a bug-like existence. No matter how strong the enemy is, he can be forced to open 5 to 5. And he is honest, loyal, and a person worthy of deep friendship. Leo will be happy to have another good friend like this in the future. While Leo was imagining the future and singing with Captain America to whine, Bucky suddenly asked an important question. Leo, you just said you have something to do, so where are we going now? Quote, go to New York. New Yorkers are suffering every day, let's do a favor. Leo laughed and drove an off-road vehicle on the road. 20 minutes later, on the road beside a gas station, the smile on Leo's face gradually solidified. He turned to Bucky and asked, Bucky, did you have any money? Bucky, the fuel tank in the off-road vehicle has bottomed out, and it is estimated that it cannot even run a distance of 10 kilometers. And the sign outside the gas station said, 100 kilometers ahead, Minnesota. The off-road vehicles Leo and the others drove didn't even have a license plate. And the two of them didn't have legal status either, so they didn't dare to take the road. So, from Minnesota to New York, they drive at least several days. But now, the two of them don't even have a cent in their pockets. After thinking about it, Leo didn't come up with any good solution. Can't give up driving now and walk to New York City. Leo bit the bullet and stopped the car next to the machine at the gas station. Bucky, go and open the fuel tank and get ready to refill. I'll go to the counter to chat with the staff. In the convenience store next to the gas station, there is only a mixed-race aunt wearing glasses. She was sitting behind the counter, looking down at the receipt at hand. Suddenly, a hoarse voice sounded in front of her. Machine 1, full of oil. $30 is enough, plus the service fee, it counts as $33 for you. The POS machine is broken and only accepts cash. However, when she finished speaking, no one handed over the money. She looked up suspiciously, only to find a pistol pointed at her in front of her. The mixed-race aunt was so frightened that she quickly took a few steps back, her hands raised, and the seat was knocked down by her. The hoarse voice sounded again. Machine 1, full of oil. Okay, let's add, just fill it up. After operating the counter machine, she said, the machine is on, you can add as much as you want. But the man with the gun didn't leave. He still pointed the gun at the mixed-race aunt and didn't say a word. I have money here, how much do you want? The half-race aunt took the money under the counter and piled it on the counter, but the gun was still pointed at her, still motionless. Please, don't kill me. You can do whatever you want. At this time, the roar of a car came from outside the convenience store, accompanied by a loud whistle. Only then did Leo put away his gun, ran out of the convenience store with his head down, and climbed into the co-pilot. Bucky stepped on the accelerator, the engine roared, and the entire off-road vehicle rushed out and disappeared along the road. Only then did the mixed-race aunt recover from the shock. She picked up the phone next to her, dialed 911, and shouted. Luotang Highway 007 gas station, I was robbed here. But by the time the police arrived at the gas station, Leo and Bucky were nowhere to be found. Leo sat in the co-pilot, touched his nose and smiled bitterly. Hey, I didn't expect it. The first thing organized by Hydra turned out to be robbery. I can see that your movements are very rusty. Why don't you let me go? Are you very skilled in business? Besides, your robotic arm is too conspicuous, and it will be troublesome if you are targeted by S.H.I.E.L.D. But you're in tatters, and you're not much better. Bucky's words reminded Leo. He looked at his shirt and trousers that had rotted into strips of cloth, and at Bucky's exposed robotic arm. He smiled and said, your words reminded me that we are going to change our clothes, and we need to get some money by the way. What do you want? What else can I do? Let's rob. A day later, in the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, in the office on the 5th floor. Nick Fury was at his desk working with papers, scratching his hair every now and then. Jingle bell. The harsh phone rang suddenly, and Fury grabbed the phone and put it in his ear. But before he could speak, a loud roar came from the microphone. Agent Nick Fury, it's been almost a month. Have you found the murderer of Mr. Stark? Have you found the secret base of Hydra? Fury held the microphone away from his ear with a look of disgust, and then replied. Director Pierce, I'm trying to find it. As you know, most of the agents in the Bureau have been sent to protect the safety of the top officers in the Bureau and their families. I'm short of manpower. Don't look for other reasons. I entrust you with this matter, to trust you, to give you a chance to be promoted, and to think about your future. If I have such high hopes for you, you will take the understaffed ones. Reasons to prevaricate me. Director Pierce, there is really a shortage of people in S.H.I.E.L.D. now. Otherwise, you will return the 20 agents you transferred. I need them to help me collect intelligence. Those 20 agents are used to protect the safety of me and my family. What should I do if they are given to you? But others only need 4 agents, you want too much. Agent Fury, did you talk to your boss like this? I tell you, give you another month, if you still can't find any news, you can go back and continue your clerical job. After that, Pierce hung up the phone angrily. Hearing the beeping busy tone coming from the microphone, Fury shook his head helplessly. He put the microphone back on the landline, put his hands behind his back, and stood by the window, staring at the setting sun outside. After a long time, the sunset was blocked by high-rise buildings in the city, and the lights in the office were automatically turned on under the control of light sensors. Fury seemed to have made up his mind, and went back to his desk to pick up the phone and dial it again. "Agent Romanoff, come to my office." A few minutes later, the Black Widow in casual clothes pushed open the door of the office and said, "Sir Fury, what do you have to do with me? I want to confirm with you again all the details of your encounter at Kapok Tang Manor." Although Black Widow didn't know why Fury suddenly wanted to hear this, she patiently repeated the experience at the underground base in Kapok Pond. As Fury listened, he didn't know what to write in his notebook. After Black Widow finished speaking, Fury already had a lot of memory in his notebook. He paused for a moment before asking, "Do you trust that assistant who calls himself Dr. Zola, the man named Ivan Avatar?" "Which way do you mean?" "All aspects. His name should be fake, but everything else should be real." "Why do you say that?" "Intuition." Black Widow saw Fury's brows wrinkled, and increased her tone. "It's a woman's intuition." Fury shrugged nonchalantly, then took out a small memory and a note with a bank card number from the drawer, and said, "I'm going to pay the so-called Mr. Avatar $1 million, which is what he said was his life. Do you think he'll say thank you to us?" Black Widow's eyes lit up and she asked, "You want to get the location of the Hydra base from his mouth?" Fury smiled and said nothing. Black Widow guessed with a little surprise. "Don't you want him to tell you who is the spy of Hydra in S.H.I.E.L.D.? At this time, Fury smiled and said, "What, do you think it's impossible?" "It's not impossible, but I think you're going to bleed. These news can't be exchanged for $1 million. Quote. Fury smiled and said, "Heroes see the same thing, I'm ready to bleed." Black Widow also smiled, but she seemed to change her face after laughing, and asked seriously, "Why are you telling me this? You already have a complete plan, you can just let it go and do it yourself." Fury put his hands on his back again, his eyes seemed to focus on infinity, and slowly said, "Sometimes, doing something requires approval from others." The next morning, in Minnesota, the state TV's morning news channel was broadcasting the news. From noon the day before yesterday to last night, there have been many armed robberies in towns and cities in our state, causing great panic among the residents of the state. But what is puzzling is that most of these robbed people are some local rogues, gangsters, and even gang members. Some gang members who were armed with guns and hated by local residents even had a shootout with unknown robbers, and were finally beaten to death by blunt weapons. At present, the police have been involved in the investigation, but the local residents did not buy it. Not only did they not cooperate with the investigation, they also called the robbers a night. After repeated visits and investigations by the police, some basic information about the robbers was obtained. The robbers were two men who appeared to be in their 20s. Although the two did not show any malice towards ordinary people, the two held weapons and robbed and murdered unscrupulously. This station is here. Strongly advise everyone not to go out at night, and if you find suspicious people, please call the police immediately. The two knights who robbed the gang were naturally Leo and Bucky. By this time, they had left Minnesota in a black van. Inside the car, Leo was wearing jeans, sneakers, and a blue bread suit. Bucky was dressed similarly, but with a pair of gray gloves that by Leader wore over his steel left palm. "Bucky, how do you feel about robbing a whole state in 2 days?" "Not very good. This is not the America I am familiar with. How can those gangsters do something like finding an old woman living alone to collect protection fees? And the local police don't even ask." Bucky looked very angry, frowned and said, "Leo, if you hadn't stopped me, I would have taken out the entire gang, and even dismantled the police station. You can't do this. You kill one group of people, and another wave will show up and continue to do this kind of thing. Not just in America, but all over the world. We fought hard to win World War II, and sacrificed our lives for the United States and a better future for the world. Now, the world has changed for the better, and ordinary people are living a rich life. Why do some people go down the wrong path? Why?" Leo asked Bucky indifferently and said, "In the era before you, wasn't there any gangsters?" "There were. All of this was driven by interests. When gangsters are profitable, and they can enjoy unearned wealth by virtue of their ruthlessness and lifelessness, some people go this way." Quote. Is there no solution? Of course there is. Any solution. When you become the gang leader of the entire United States, you can customize the order of the Dark Kingdom at will. Bucky nodded thoughtfully after listening. Then he suddenly asked. When I was in Minneapolis, I heard from their gang boss that the entire gang in the United States surrendered to a man named Jin Bing. Then according to the rules of the gang, as long as I kill him, I can be the boss. Leo, do you know where he is? Quote. What, you have a new life goal so soon? Seeing that Bucky was silent, Leo continued. Of course I know where Kim is. I'm taking you to find him now. At this time, Bucky said. Thank you, Leo, but why do you seem to know everything? Why do you know so much? Leo touched his nose, he smiled and said perfunctorily. I'm more knowledgeable. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe for more videos.